Yeah, thanks again, and stick around, guys. There's more render to come, as we said. And have a good night. Bye-bye.
There we go. We should be live right now. If somebody can confirm in chat or something that you can hear us, please let us know.
I'm so proud of you, Bo.
Otherwise, I would say also let us know if you can't hear us, but if you can't hear us...
yeah, I had the audio on, I can hear us.
Okay. Great, we are live. Okay, I'll do the first introduction. Welcome everybody to Tiny 10.6, which is a 10 Game Boy game race. Yes, I'm sorry about my Belgianese, it's hard to grasp it. So yeah, what's gonna happen is a lot of people, not as many as we would have hoped, will actually do a race doing 10 Game Boy games in a row, full games this time, which is new to the concept. And whoever wins will get a nice pat on the back because we don't actually have prizes.
Anyways, yeah, this is first Tiny 10 where all of the goals are complete games, right?
Indeed, this is also why we call this version the Pro Edition, because some of the games are a lot harder than usual. Usually we go with very short goals or easy to learn things, but these are kind of games that you really need to know the route about, so you can get around with them faster. So practice was very much mandatory. If people are doing this blind, they might have a bad time.
Yeah, is anybody actually doing this blind?
Not that I know of. I don't think any of the people who are actually entered the race are actually doing it blind this time, which is good, which is really good.
Infinite might be partially blind going into this. Because he just got out doing the, was it Master 16 or whatever that second Master System one was. So I don't know how much time he had to practice.
Alright, I'm gonna make sure the race is gonna start, so let's see. Of course I do the wrong command because I'm not very good at this thing. Alright, I'll do the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are off.
Woo!
Good luck, everybody.
Okay, question for you, Mo. The question everybody's asking. Why did you choose a game with a 3-minute cutscene to start the race?
Well, there are 2 reasons for that. What happened in the past that is that we always started very fast, and that resulted in us not being able to speak about the games before they even came up on screen. And the second reason is Wario Land 2 is actually a Super Game Boy Enhanced game. And for people who are actually using the Super Game Boy 2 to play the games on, they would have a much longer loading time to get the game started if they would have to switch for a later game. And that's why we made sure that people got everything loaded up before the actual game started.
Yeah, Wario Land 2 is interesting. This game was released on Gray Cart, which is original Game Boy, on the black carts, which are Game Boy Color games that work on Game Boy, like Game Boy Color Enhanced games, and also got its own Game Boy Color release, the gray see-through carts. So this game was, I guess, popular enough to release kind of 3 times. But I've actually never played this game.
This game is pretty good. It's your base Wario game. The speedrun of this, though, get your Resident Sleepers ready.
Yeah, I did. So it's, I've watched this, and so the world record is like 8 minutes something, but it doesn't seem like there's any giant sequence breaks or anything. It's just like, how can you beat it so quickly?
Yeah, the reason why it's so short is this game is actually made up of multiple endings. So depending on choices you make through the game or different exits you find in certain levels, you go towards a different ending. And to get the shortest set of levels, which is 5 levels, you have to stay asleep during the first level. This is what they're gonna do right now. They're staying asleep, and that way they get kicked out of the castle, and all they have to do is re-enter the castle to finish the game. If you do wake up, there are multiple paths to take afterwards, but if you don't go for any of the secret endings, you end up with like 25 levels, I believe. That would take you like an hour to get through, so let's hope everybody actually stays asleep.
Yeah, and I guess we should introduce ourselves. I'm John Carls, and we have the 3 people who have probably beaten the most Game Boy games on Twitch here, right?
I would assume so, yeah, unless Zenny Gregory has beaten more. But I'm definitely the furthest ahead, I believe.
Yep, definitely. And we got Eat Bloody Candy here, and Moolah, right?
Yep.
I call you Moolah.
Indeed. Nobody can pronounce my name, so usually people just say Mo.
Moelia.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
So basically the way this game works is that if you don't wake up in the beginning, then you can skip like most of the game. That's just
correct.
Weird.
Yes.
That's just a very weird thing, I feel like.
Yeah,
it is weird, yeah.
The cool thing about this game, like playing it casually too, is that once you've beat it, your map basically unlocks. So if you wanted to 100% the game, you can then see where basically all the treasures are too. So you can go back, kind of like do like a new game plus type deal, where you can go and collect all the treasures after you've beaten the game.
The movement for you can see Garbanzo's starting to move here. The movement for these Wario games is kind of fun. The main attack is usually like charging instead of like typical Mario jumping on people's heads. And then the Wario Land series, starting with this game, started to develop this, I guess, mechanic of getting certain abilities and stuff to unlock things. So like if you catch on fire, you can break through certain blocks, or if you get squished, then you can fit through a small section. And later games would, I think literally you can't die in certain later Wario games. Is that right? There's no health or anything? That mechanic is everything.
I don't remember.
I haven't played them.
I've only played up to Super Mario Land 3, the Wario game, and this one.
Okay. Yeah, the later ones, I know I think it's 3 or 4 you actually can't die. It's all just the mechanic of taking on different abilities, but you'll see them using different abilities to get through certain walls or certain barriers.
Yeah, the fun thing about this speedrun is actually that it's even more than normal, just based on how well you know how to control your character and how you move throughout the levels, and not so much having fear of not dying or killing enemies. It's really all about knowing how Wario moves, what you can do with the different abilities to progress fast, and
You can
just
see-
get to the end.
Be in this corridor that's incredibly difficult. You can jump over these enemies, but you can see Sprint Legs was struggling with that, and now Reboot as well, just trying to get past these weird, I don't even know what to call that, spiky mouth creatures. But yeah, that's a really hard corridor to get through speedrun wise, because you can jump over them, but it's a tight jump. Fortunately, because of the knockback, you can't get back through them with the iframes.
You know, what's more to say about this game? You see people now running the original Game Boy version. The speedrunners of this game all play on the Game Boy Color version, which is the black card. Again, because of the Super Game Boy enhancements, it doesn't have that, so the game actually loads a lot faster. And another thing you probably won't be seeing in this speedrun is there are actually out-of-bound tricks, which makes you skip 2 of the levels almost completely. But that's a really hard trick to do. If you want to see it, you can see the world record holder actually do them in his run, but I don't think we'll be seeing any of those here.
Yeah, and you can see them catching on fire and getting through those fire blocks. One of those abilities here. People definitely struggling early on here with some of the movement. This is a tough game, and you get significant knockback when you take damage.
Checking the chat here for some questions. Why no in-game sound? I'm not sure, Fiesel, what that is about. I'm sure you have an explanation for that. I also see how would we know if they woke up. If they wake up, you can see completely different levels actually than the ones you're seeing right now.
Yeah, because casually this game is not that short, right?
No, this is one of my favorite games of all time,
Yeah.
and I streamed it a couple of times already now, and I always go for the 100% thing, and it's definitely an 8-hour game if you want to do everything.
Or 8 minutes if you want to sleep.
Yeah, indeed.
I'd rather sleep.
I guess when I do this for Game Boy Quest, I'll try and get some secrets for you, Mo.
Yeah, just go for 100%. You won't regret it. Actually, it's a really fun game to play.
I think Fire Wario sprite might be my favorite sprite.
That's pretty good.
I really like Tiny Wario, but I don't think he shows up in this run at all.
We'll see Smushed Wario coming up, which is a good one.
I remember playing this casually, and the penguins or wherever they are that throw those black balls that make you like really drunk or drugged up or whatever. Those are the worst because you can't do anything about it. You just have to fall into water, which could be at the very bottom of the stage that you were just at. So you just waste a ton of time just accidentally getting hit by a black ball you couldn't dodge.
Yeah, and the actual Japanese version, they actually do throw beer jugs at you. So it's literally Wario being drunk, but of course they had to censor that for the US and European audiences for whatever reason. I'm not even sure what they throw. I always thought they were like bowling balls and they make you dizzy or something like that.
So you could see Rave Tuba and like a little like mini game after beating a level. So what's that all about?
There's two ways, two things you need to complete this game. The first thing is to get all the treasures, which is done with a memory minigame during the levels, which opens up a chest so you can get the treasure. And at the end of the level you get another minigame, which is a number guessing game, and that gives you a piece of a puzzle. And if you get all the puzzle pieces, you open up the final stage. So
with the memory game, there's three different difficulties. There's easy, medium, and hard. Does it matter which difficulty you play it on?
It doesn't matter which you play it on, it just makes it harder for yourself. On hard mode, you have like a millisecond to actually see the screen and what you need to pick. And easy and normal are pretty much doable for a normal person. Like, I cannot do hard, it's undoable.
And it looks like we've got Rave Tuba here going into the final boss. You jump over the final boss a lot, and then I know in the world record you can stun lock him and hit him multiple times on the electrocuted.
On the first time, yeah. You can one cycle this boss, but it's definitely not easy to do.
Sure. And Rave Tuba moving on to the second game, which is Marble Madness, NES classic, ported to the Game Boy. And actually, I really like this port. I think it plays pretty well. The final level is taken out from the NES version, which is a really hard level, at least from when I was a kid. I could never beat it, but obviously this is going to be a quick run, about 3 minutes, 4 minutes, I guess, if you were to get world record.
The world record is actually like 2 minutes and 30 seconds, something like that. So it's really, really short. Some people have been looking into this game a little more. Mostly runners of the NES version. There are just a lot of skippable things, which are very hard to see because of the perspective. But yeah, this is super short. The only problem is something I experienced when I first played this game blind is the fact that you can press A to go faster. I did not figure it out until like 2 hours into the game. And you definitely need that ability to actually finish the last stage, and I could not get past that for the longest time.
I think I had a similar experience where I didn't realize that until, I don't think it was 2 hours, but until I got to a point where I needed it, and then I had to figure it out, but I wasn't using that previously. You see Rave Tuba skipping over kind of a little sequence break, hopping onto that like wave platform, skipping all of the little winding paths that you're supposed to.
Yeah, the biggest break you'll see in the Game Boy version is the Game Boy version's last level of the game, which is the second to last level in the NES version, where basically we just kind of like clip through a corner and finish the game.
Yeah, there's a little corner that but I think you need to be able to use the A button and speed up and hit it at a certain angle or certain pixel. It
requires you to have a speed, and you have to get some air a little bit without breaking the marble. But the part that Ray is in right now is like those cylinders are the worst.
Yeah, he's having a little issues with those. I don't even know what you'd call them. Pipes that shoot you in the air. But he's definitely got a sizable lead starting out this Tiny Ted. Nobody else done with Wario Land yet.
So yeah, Rave is in the final level right now of Marble Madness Game Boy. So we didn't talk about much about Marble Madness at all, but the controls for Marble Madness Game Boy are very, very similar to that of the NES. Hold A to go fast. You can choose your 45-degree angle or your 90-degree angle moveset. It's all dependent on you, basically. But obviously, you need to use A to go fast. So you can see there, Rave Tuba kind of just clipped to the edge. And is done with Marble Madness.
So technically, he's 2 games ahead right now.
He sure is. Yeah, now the harder games are going to start coming on, though. Many of these games that will follow have limited continue, so that will make people very excited not to screw up more. So this could still be anyone's race, actually. Adam's Family is the first that has limited continues. We have Double Dragon coming up, which is probably the worst out of all of them if you die, because it sends you back a lot. But yeah, this is really cool to see that there are games in here that can make or break a run.
Yeah, definitely. This Adam's Family game, I haven't gotten to play this yet myself, but there's actually, we're doing the any % all bosses category. This game can actually be beaten in less than 2 minutes. I'm not sure why. Can you just rescue one family member and then end the game, or
you actually
rescue
do
none of
not.
them?
You do not rescue anybody at all. You just go to the final boss, and you can do that because of the poor programming of this game, and you can like skip an entire area just by actually doing a one frame perfect trick, which makes you go to another part of the basement, which you shouldn't be able to go to yet, and you can enter a door which is not even in the place the door is supposed to be in.
Yeah, it was weird in the 90s. They came out with a lot of Addams Family video games. I mean, there's games dedicated to Fester, there's games dedicated to Pugsley, there's multiple ports of Addams Family Values and Addams Family games on NES, SNES, Game Boy. I don't know, there was like I guess a little Addams Family craze. I don't know if it's because there's so many recognizable characters or what the deal was, but I don't know. Most of them are pretty, I would say.
They're playable usually, but that's about it.
Yeah. This game's got a little bit of that open world feel where you can go from area to area, and like you said, you can skip bosses, but every boss you fight, you rescue a different member of the family, so pretty messed up if we didn't save those family members.
How much experience with these games do the runners have? Well, all the people you see on the screen right now definitely have been practicing these games, so they should be fairly familiar with all of them. It just really depends on how much practice went into each game. Like, some people would be better at some of the later games, maybe, and not so much at the shorter games because they kept them out of their practice for a long time, which is not always a good idea, of course, but yeah, it all depends on the people, of course.
Got sprinting legs and Reboot still on Wario 2. We got Garbanzo guy moving along, doing some Marble Madness, getting sucked up in some vacuums. We got some progress. Sprint legs on the final boss of Wario Land 2 here.
The final boss in Wario Land 2 is very different depending if you wake up or not too, isn't it? Because I remember when I played this, I remember having a shoulder attack the final boss and not use that big spiky thing.
Yeah, it all depends on which actual ending you go for. Each ending has its own boss, so they're all very different.
Yeah, and shoulder tackling that final boss is not an easy thing.
On the Addams Family, you see one of the two skips in this game.
Oh yeah.
You're supposed to go through all that underwater section thingy to get to the end, but again, this game is not really programmed well, so you can actually just jump on top of a stage and walk all the way to the right.
Yeah, you get to skip the swimming.
Yeah, which is the worst part of the game. So, yeah.
Yeah, and both records, any percent and all bosses, are held by H-Roz, who's won the last several Tiny Tens. So he's kind of the destroyer of world records. He owns a lot of the world records in this Tiny Ten as well. I know he took Double Dragon from me and some other games in here I think he has as well. So you can always check him out. But I like the boss sprites in Addams Family, at least. There's definitely some interesting. All the bosses seem very easy, though. Are they supposed to be this easy casually, or is there something going on here?
No, they really are that easy, except for the final boss, who can basically one-hit kill you. The thing with these bosses is you have to use the appropriate weapon to kill some of them. Some die just with the sword you get from the start, but each time you defeat a boss you get a different power-up. Some that are completely useless and do not get used in any way during the entire game, like for instance one of the blocks that actually got incorporated so you can do one jump a little bit faster than normally, but it's pretty much useless anyways. But yeah, the sword gets used, or the fireball, which is used to defeat faster.
Yeah, this toy section is creepy. I would not want to fall into this toy box for sure. The music's pretty good.
Yeah, the music is one of the highlights of this game, for sure.
So in this game, as you say, family members, do you get to play as the family members later on, or are you always playing as Gomez?
You are always Gomez.
And you get these different masks or power-ups throughout the game that, for some reason, change your appearance. I don't know if you're supposed to be other characters or something. One makes you go really fast, which is kind of a staple of Addams Family video games. Is like usually it's the shoes that just make you go super fast. But this has some sort of mask. The one he most recently had, I have no clue what that is.
That's the one that lets you breathe underwater, but again, you do not actually use it because you just skip the level.
You fight the boss underwater.
Yeah, but I'm not entirely sure if it's actually necessary in that room.
That teddy bear boss was awesome looking.
Yeah, swinging the two maces over its head, pretty awesome. How can you get into Game Boy speedrunning? Author Blues asks. Well, that's a good question, Author Blues. I think Mo would be the one to answer that probably.
Yeah, we actually do have a website if you want to get into Game Boy speedrunning, where you can find all the information you need. You can see it at the bottom of the screen, which has the link to the actual Tiny 10.6 page. But if you just go to gbrunners.com, you can actually check out some tutorials on some games, general tutorials to get you started, and also some technical stuff like the Super Game Boy enhanced stuff, for example, which Nudua figured out, and he wrote an article about it, which you can check out on the website.
Definitely. The Discord is really active, and I recommend joining it. There's a lot of really helpful people that will, give you general Game Boy guidance, or might get interested in a game that you want to route or figure out. So definitely go check that out. I always thought this devil boss was like really adorable as well. So, although now he's dead, so that kind of stinks.
Yeah, what more can you say about the Addams Family all bosses run? What you
There's
do
a lot.
is,
all the bosses are fought.
Yeah, you
I
just
can tell you that.
Which is again completely unnecessary, but at least it makes you experience the game instead of just skipping to the end. So,
commentating? I don't know how to answer that question. I mean, I'd say just get involved in the communities that you're interested in and opportunities arise. But I don't think there's like a set way to get into commentating other than being passionate about your community and the runs, whether it be a specific speed run or a specific console, and or events, stuff like rando races, stuff like that, and eventually you probably do stuff like that. So.
Biggest thing is just being active in the community, whichever one you're in.
Reboot doing the final boss. Looks like they had to restart there. Getting close to the end of that game. Everybody else on our screen is on Addams Family values. I don't know where any of the other racers are currently at, but getting closer together. Rave Tuba had a big lead, but still does, I think, but
yeah, so you can see here
not super far behind.
Yeah, you can see Garbanzo doing the swimming segment instead of skipping this section.
Yeah,
surprising because he's the Addams Family guy. He ran Addams Family on SNES. Super Nintendo Addams Family at GDQ about a year ago, I think. I don't remember which GDQ it was, but he had an amazing GDQ run. I definitely recommend pulling that up on YouTube. He kept the speed shoes through that game for a very long time for a marathon run, and it's a very difficult run. So look up Garbanzo guy, Addams Family, GDQ, whatever. You guys know how to search things, and you won't be disappointed. Here's the final boss. Rave Tuba's on. He got the one shot, like you said. Right back over.
Who is this guy?
Try and get behind it. Yeah, I don't know who is this guy. You try and get behind him, and then you can spam him on attacks. I think he keeps hitting the cauldron here. Mo, they want to know if we have an invite to the Game Boy Discord. I believe it's on gbrunners.com, but I'm not sure.
No, we actually just give out invites to people who ask for them. If they're really passionate about it, we do not just let anybody join for reasons. Like, I'm not the original owner of the channel, so those are not my rules. So yeah, if you want an invite, just contact me or John Carls or E Bloody Candy here on Twitch, and we will surely provide you with one of them.
RaveTuber taking a life. He's taking the final boss very safely now. Hopefully, I don't know what happens if you run out of your lives. Would he have to start the whole game over again?
Yeah, you would have to
be
restart.
Bad. So his big lead is at risk right now, and he can get one-shotted here. Oh, I think he did it.
He did it, yeah, indeed.
That's scary.
That last boss is no joke. That insurance collector, man.
Yeah, is that what he is?
I don't know. He's the guy in a suit.
I think he's some kind of lawyer or something like that. I don't know. I do not know the lore of Adam's family. I've never looked into it, really.
Okay, and RaveTuber going into a game, Fortified Zone. I really like this game. It's a top-down, kind of like Metal Gear NES-style game. You can switch between the guy and the girl characters, and it's kind of like a run-and-gun game. A lot of fun. RaveTuber just clipping through that wall there. It's got some really good, cool speed tech. I believe what's the difference between the guy and the girl? It's exploited for the speed run.
Yeah, so the girl character moves faster and can jump. The guy character can do a lot more damage because he can pick up like the heavy weapons, which the girl can do. The thing is, the sprite of the male character is also bigger, which actually makes it easier to do some of the wall clips. But of course, the girl character is faster, so you would rather use her. But it's harder to set you up perfectly to get through.
You can switch between them pretty freely, between the speed and the stronger weapons. So
yeah,
there's constantly back and forth. This game came out in 1991. It was released by Jalico. Jalico had a couple of pretty nifty, underrated Game Boy games, I think, with Avenging Spirit and I will say Maru's Mission. Some people might disagree with that one, but I've become a fan of Jalico games over the past couple of years.
They do have a lot of good Game Boy games, for sure. The two main things about Fortified Zone is get the better gun for the male character so you can damage the bosses more easily, use the female character for all your movement, and if you pause the game and unpause the game, you get a few iframes for free, which you can use to damage boost, quote unquote, through all the enemies or through bullets. So those are techniques that get used through the game constantly.
GG to Reboot for finishing up Wario Land 2. Garbanzo guy on this boss that you push backwards until he gets struck by lightning. And he looks so happy, too. I think it's kind of messed up that you kill him, personally. Big grin on his face. Yeah, this game's a bit short, Fortified Zone. That's my only complaint about it, but it is a Game Boy game. But really liked it. If you like the top-down sections of, like, Blaster Master, you'd probably like this game.
Yeah, and there is a Japanese-only sequel if you can get enough of this game, which is a little bit harder, a little bit not as good as the first one, but definitely also worth checking out.
Really? I didn't know that. Awesome.
This Fortified Zone
called Operation Logic Bomb? No.
Fortified Zone reminds me of a run-and-gun Metal Gear game. Like Ghost Babel or something, just like running and shooting.
Exactly. Like the Game Boy Color or the NES Metal Gear games. So apparently the sequel, Ikari no Yosai 2, came out on the Game Boy. Like you said, I did not know that. And there's also an Ikari no Yosai for the Super Famicom that came out, or was released as Operation Logic Bomb outside of Japan.
I've never heard of that name before.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that either, so that's cool. I'm gonna have to check those out because I do really like this game.
Yeah, another technique that actually gets used, you can actually shoot stuff that's off the screen, so you can actually damage most of the bosses before they even get a chance to come near you, which makes
that's
it
right.
easier to defeat them.
Yeah, all the boss fights happen in this giant black void. But yeah, they're large rooms, so you can move throughout them, and like you said, you can just as soon as you enter the rooms, just start spamming your shots and do some damage beforehand. Definitely worth checking out the sections that Garbanzo guy is in right now on the world record run by Atros. It's a pretty intense section of the game, especially to do as quickly as possible with all these swinging balls and you know, saws that are on the loose and spikes on the ground and spikes from the sky. It's a really pretty well done. Atros optimizes everything pretty well. And now Garbanzo on that final boss that gave Rave Tuba a bunch of issues. He's got 3 lives here, so let's see how he does. Died there
you
first
can-
time.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough.
So are they what are they doing? Are they hitting the cauldron on accident? Like
no, they're
I'm
actually
trying to
hitting
see.
the boss, but if he hits you, it's like I said, a one-hit
Oh.
kill if you touch his body. What you want to do is jump,
Okay.
jump and shoot at the same time. He will copy your movement, and it's a pretty tight window to get underneath him, so he doesn't touch you because his hitbox is actually a lot larger than his sprite is. And if you get behind him,
One
of
hit
course,
kill
he
you
can-
too. Garbanzo clutching it out as well. I'm sure it's not that hard to kill him in the slower way, but with the pressure of doing a marathon setting, I mean, that's the kind of situation where I usually make a mistake. So good job on the Garbanzo guy and Rave Tuba for taking the safe route after, you know,
Yeah, at least trying
Lives
to,
and
to do
clutching
it
it out.
for sure.
You can see in Reboot, he had a hard time with those cylinders. I don't know if those cylinders are complete RNG or if they have some sort of weird pattern that you have to memorize, but like I know when I played this game casually, like those cylinders was my kryptonite.
see this guy on the bottom left, like he does not look like somebody you should be killing. Look how happy he is. Just messed
Yeah.
up.
He's
You're
a
just pushing him
transform
into
faster
lightning?
now.
Well, maybe he just wanted to hang out with him.
He is spitting on you though, so that's not really cool of him.
No.
Legs is having some trouble with the boss. What you need to do is push him
Does
back
he have
with
to
the
get hit by the
fireballs.
lightning?
Yeah, that's the only way to damage him. So you can push him back, and the fireballs are the most efficient thing to do that with because he gets pushed back the furthest. But yeah, he has to get hit by the lightning.
Okay. Looks like he's running low on the knives too. Does he? Can he refill that later?
There are some potions that refill it, but if you die, everything gets refilled completely.
Oh, okay.
so-
And this guy's so happy. I'm rooting for. I guess I'm rooting for Sprint Legs, but guy that's getting on. One section of Fortified Zone, I don't know if we've gotten there yet. You navigate your. Basically, there's these rooms. You can't tell watching this speed run, but there's rooms that reverse your controls completely. If you play this casually, so down is up and up is down, left is right and right is left, and they're pretty difficult to navigate casually. But like I believe Rave 2 is in one of them right now, but memorize reverse controls for those rooms, and I believe there's one that's completely dark that they do. I may be mistaken, but I believe there is.
I'm not sure about
There's
that
a dark
one. I do
room that
know
they have to navigate.
Yeah, there are 2 of those rooms where your controls get reversed that also have pitfalls that put you back a floor. So it's kind of hard to avoid falling down those holes because again the hitbox of that is also not very forgiving. So if you take 1 pixel too far, you will fall down and you would have to go all the way around again to get back.
Now it appears they already did the dark room. Well, Reboot having a little bit of trouble with Marble Madness over here.
Yeah, those things, like, yeah, they are complete RNG. I think on the NES version they are not, but definitely on the Game Boy they just do whatever they want.
Yeah, NES version they have a pattern. That's why I wasn't sure if the Game Boy version had a pattern or not, because I remember just playing this casually in this game, just by them.
Yeah, there is a different route you can take, which takes you around them. It's something that I usually do, so I don't have to deal with those things. But it's, of course, a little bit slower to use that.
Probably the only Game Boy game that I've beaten faster than you guys. I've beaten several faster than you guys. Thank you very much. There's a running joke that I always take twice as long to beat my Game Boy games. I just like Game Boy more than you guys. I like to savor it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of those things, again, like we mentioned, we are 3 people who actually do like a system challenge for Game Boy. If you want to check that out, be sure to give us a follow. And actually, we do also have a team of Game Boy gamers, streamers. There's also a person who does Game Boy Color games, but most of us just do regular Game Boy, which is called Monochrome City. You can head over to that team page if you want to check that out and be up to date with who's live. And there's also a person in there who actually made this year's skin for the stream called Man Over Mars. Big shout outs to him. He's an amazing artist, and he came up with a great idea to expand our little tiny logo Game Boy thingy.
Looks pretty awesome.
Cartina Cow actually came up with, and he expanded it into a transforming Game Boy that takes on the characters of the players.
He's got thick thighs too, you know?
Yeah.
I beat Marble Madness in under an hour. Thank you very much, Mo.
I did too.
I wasn't talking to you.
Congratulations. But you did take
other
9 hours to actually get the high score in Revenge of the Gator, which I do not understand.
Game is hard. Got very close many times.
Did we ever talk about iframes when pausing and unpausing?
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah,
I mentioned it.
Okay, I just saw the question pop up in chat.
Reboot has moved on to Adam's Family now, so all 4 of our runners on the screen are past Marble Madness. I don't know about those who are not on screen. You know, the lead from Rave Tuba, I believe he's still significantly in the lead, but Garbanzo's been, you know, keeping pace / maybe catching up a bit. So Sprinting Legs and Reboot at similar points, I think, near the beginning of Adam's Family. So, oh dear, in chat, the SML2 guy, which will be the last game of our little race here.
I can give you guys a fresh update of those not on stream right now. Infinite Mystery is on the final boss of Wario Land, and Captain Duck is in Fortified Zone as well.
Oh, okay, awesome. So Captain Duck, Garbanzo Guy, and Rave Tuba, all 3 in Fortified Zone, our 4th game.
Yes, Lex sadly taking a game over on Adam's Family. She was really close to the end, so she will have to restart the entire game.
No, I thought she was in the beginning of the game. I forgot that they were already playing before. So that these games where you don't get any save points, and if you run out of lives, it's over. Is a tough. It's tough for a marathon, for sure.
Yeah, like we discussed this last time while we were during Tiny 10.5, what we would do in the future, and a lot of people were really excited for the idea to actually include some harder to learn games, just as a test to see how it would go. Looking at how many people showed up, I don't know if that was a deciding factor or if people were actually really busy today. But maybe for the future we will have to go back to a little bit more lenient lineup of games.
Just a
It
mix.
was really fun to actually find 10 complete games for once instead of just having to go with a goal for some of them.
Threw my
Really?
chair during Tiny 10.5, and that was supposed to be easier, so I don't know.
Is the best clip I've ever watched.
That was
You can find that on YouTube. I took an intentional death, not knowing, thinking the consequences were going to be different than they were. Was not pleased with the
I just
result.
want you to know, John, that intentional death let me pass you.
Well, let a lot of people pass me because you move so slow in Castlevania. Oh, Deer posing that he thinks Dr. Wily's Revenge and Double Dragon will decide this. So I think SML2 and Dr. Wily's Revenge are definitely going to be big. Everybody keeps talking about Double Dragon, kind of surprising me because I actually, we can talk about that I guess when it comes up, but I actually routed that game and beat the previous record by like 4 minutes, and before it was picked for Tiny 10 or Atroz beat my time. And I mean, it's a tough game, but I wouldn't put it up there with Dr. Wily's Revenge or like SML2 for time save. But the runners seem concerned with Double Dragon as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with that game is that like deaths put you back very far, which is kind of also the case with Dr. Wily's Revenge, but at least you keep your progress of getting through the game. If you really mess up during Double Dragon, it's go back to the start. And Mission 3, the first part of it at least, is pretty tough to get through.
That's true. And then there's the area with the spikes right at the end that
yeah, that might mess you up completely. So I'm actually really excited to see Double Dragon. I always do some runs of the Tiny 10 on my stream in the months or weeks leading up to the Tiny 10. I only did one this time. I was pretty busy, but I got some practice in on all the games. Everything went really fine, and Double Dragon actually cost me 4 game overs, and yeah, that was pretty rough.
Yeah, I guess it's hard for me to take into account. I that game had like a 17-minute world record, and I routed it. I beat the existing tasks and figured out a bunch of stuff, and I'm really excited to see the stuff Atroz found, because he found a couple of things I'm not sure if people will be doing or not that I haven't gotten to see yet to save even more time. So I like that game a lot. It's a really good port, but I forgot about the continues. There's no resets in an event like this, so
nope.
You better play it safe.
I was really glad that I finally got the opportunity to put that game in a Tiny 10, because I wanted to do it since the first edition, actually.
Oh,
and now was just the time to do it. So
I love this dragon boss.
Yeah, it's pretty weird seeing that like you're in like a how do you call it? Like in an enemy base with all kinds of mechs and stuff, and then suddenly, yo, here's a dragon.
Yeah. Printing legs doing the glitch, or not really glitch, but
I don't know what you can even call it. It's not an out-of-bound trick either. It's just like you jump on a platform you shouldn't be able to jump on.
See, when we see that in a game like Addams Family, we're like, this game's poorly programmed. But when you see it in Mario, you're like, oh, Mario's the best.
Yeah, true.
Hot take.
Brave Tuba coming up, I think, close to the end. Is this the final boss, or is there one more boss?
This is either the final boss or the mid-boss. That was the mid-boss, yeah. Like, the final stage actually has 2 bosses.
Oh, okay. Dragons are standard features in Japanese fortresses. I didn't know that. Good to know. Video.
Nobody won yet. No, that would be really fast. The combined time for all world records for these 10 games is 1 hour and 54 minutes. So with enough practice, you could possibly go for a sub 2, but I also put estimates on most of the games, and it would be like 2 hours and a half if you put in a little bit of practice.
It would have taken me an hour and a half, but I just decided the commentary would be,
Yeah, I mean,
that's why we don't participate, because it would not be fair to any other.
yeah. I mean, I've already won a Tiny 10, so I gotta shine. I gotta share the light a little bit.
I've already choked in several Tiny 10s. I'm really excited for the next game, Dr. Wily's Revenge. It's a very difficult Mega Man game. It's one I actually had as a kid. And I think, like Odir was saying, I think this is kind of the first big test of the run. I mean, I guess Adam's Family with the no continues. But I think Dr. Wily's Revenge is going to maybe give us our first lead change.
I don't know. Sure. I think maybe a lead change, but I think a lot of our runners were very set on learning Mega Man because they knew it was probably one of the harder games in the list. Yeah. So, like, every practice I've watched of people doing this, like, it was always on Mega Man. So, I mean, you're not going to see, indie level or Tremaine level runs, but I mean, you're going to see, pretty limited game overs and stuff like that. And you're going to see people know the basic route, the basic strat to this game.
It definitely can affect anybody who didn't put as much time into it, but also I think still, some game overs can move the lead possibly here. We'll see.
Yeah, like I always consider Wily's Revenge one of the purest Mega Man games out there for speedrunning. Basically because it actually does not have any glitches or anything that you can use to get through the game faster. It's really just precise movement, knowing which weapons to use where, and getting through Cutman, which is the hardest part of the entire run, and of course it is the first stage.
Cutman is the hardest boss of the entire game. You can start with, I believe it's fire. However, the fire stage is extremely long. The reason people want to start with Cutman first is because you use the cut weapon the entire run, basically. That cut weapon is the weapon to use in this game.
Rave 2 taking a death already could affect his ability to fight. Oh, and another death. Might want to take an intentional game over, honestly, because, like you said, Cutman is very difficult, and it's going to be tough to be. I think he is taking an intentional death.
Yeah, that is a very good idea.
Because Cutman, basically, unless you're even if you're a top tier speedrunner, you die on most runs because you won't have full health going into Cut, and it is a very difficult fight. So, RaveTuba probably making the right call in the lead. Taking the death, just starting the game over essentially, but. See, I told you, EBC. Things are going to be happening here. Things are going to be happening.
I've put my fair share of time into this game. I know.
He could have indeed used the soft reset, and he is allowed to. Maybe he just didn't think of it in like the heat of the moment. It's hard to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because that probably cost another 30 seconds to die. So.
Yeah, that's a big problem with Dr. Wily's Revenge. Maybe I'm not that familiar with the speedruns of the other games, but there are usually only one checkpoint basically per stage. So each that you take puts you back a very long distance. So that's a real problem with this game.
The part where RaveTube is at now is the checkpoint for Cutman. So if he dies anywhere before the boss corridor, he will restart there again. As soon as he hits the boss corridor, I believe he can respawn there after he dies.
Yeah, indeed.
I run 2, and I think there's only one checkpoint per level. So
yeah, maybe.
I think he has enough health to survive a hit. Yep, from the giant eye.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem of this entire stage. The entire game consists of very well placed damage boosts, but the problem is that guy it takes 6 packs of health out of your 18 packs that you have, which is only half what you have on NES games. And the reason that Big Eye is just there, it can just break it entirely because you end up with a low health bar for Cutman, and Cutman is basically pure RNG hell. There's no set pattern that he follows. You really have to know how to anticipate everything he does, and
Yeah, at least he Rave Tuba getting on to Cutman. The difficult thing with the Game Boy Mega Man games in terms of the boss fights is just the limited screen space and the larger sprites, and Mega Man doesn't jump very high, so it's really difficult. Like there's very little room to jump over enemies in Game Boy Mega Man games, jump over the bosses. And as you can see, I mean, the two of them take up most of the space of the area, so
screen,
it's
yeah.
just is really difficult. Like Crash Man can be pretty difficult in 2 because of the same thing. But Rave Tuba taking care of Cutman the second try. Obviously lost some time there with having to take the intentional game over, but I think made the right decision. I don't know if he knows he's in the lead and is strategizing or what, but good call on his part.
Yeah, he's still,
Being the only
he
one
still
on-
has
on Mega
plenty
Man.
of lead left to make a few more mistakes for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't happen, of course.
Well, it'd be more exciting if it did. We need
Yeah,
some lead
that's true.
changes here.
That's true.
Can't just have him dominating everything.
So now that Rave Tuba has Rolling Cutter, you're gonna see him basically cut through a Lek Man here once he gets to the end.
He's gonna roll and cut through him.
So a Lek Man stage is kind of interesting with the elect beams coming up and the guts blocks and everything else. You're gonna see here where the guts blocks take a little bit of a timing, and if you time it wrong, you fall pretty much all the way back down to the bottom, with a fan blowing in your face, nonetheless too. So it's a pretty good time. So you got these Susies as well. The Susies, they're on a set pattern, but if you don't know how to maneuver the room very well or very quickly, they can become a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the Mega Man Game Boy games, the first 4 essentially are mashups of NES Mega Man games. So Dr. Wily's Revenge has bosses from Mega Man 1 and 2 from NES. Mega Man 2 on Game Boy has bosses from 2 and 3 and going on. Mega Man 5 on the Game Boy is the only actually fully original game Mega Man game on Game Boy. So you'll see bosses from 1 and 2 in this one, which is fun because you get to use power-ups against bosses you normally wouldn't be able to in the end version, which I think is cool. But
yeah, it is cool. So you saw Rave Tuba jumping forward in that screen with I call them the Zeuses. He does that. He or she does that just so they can basically get them to load faster onto the screen so they can kill them and get over there as quick as possible. The biggest thing in the speedrun with this is always the drops. In Mega Man 1 Game Boy, when you collect a drop, Mega Man's momentum stops. So if you get a drop mid-air, you'll stop and you'll fall to your death typically. That's kind of the fun thing about Mega Man 2 is that Mega Man 2, when you get a power-up, you don't lose momentum at all, if I remember correctly.
yeah, no, it doesn't affect you at all, which is nice. And you don't want to die to go fast generally. You don't want to fall in the pits and stuff.
Typically, abusing death in Mega Man games is not very good for your health.
Hated these corridors where you have to climb ladders and get electrocuted. Similar to Elect Man and Mega Man 1.
So
Man, that rolling cutter just destroyed that thing.
So Rave Tuba being a little risky with it actually. Like when you back away like that in these Mega Man games, you have a chance. If you back away too far,
Respawn.
the sprite will respawn back in.
Ooh.
Yeah, he didn't have enough health to take the first hit.
Yeah, he like man does, I believe, 2 damage. So
Well, it looks like the hitbox of the electricity is about the whole freaking screen. So
well, there is actually a way to avoid it, which I accidentally did once, to the surprise of the actual runners of the game, like
yeah,
PLD.
it doesn't even look like you did
And
it.
nobody knew what happened. Like I still don't know what happened. I think I have a clip of it on my channel, but it was something that I've never seen before, and I have played this game so many times.
My best friend on the bottom left here might be the last time I can see him. So
No, okay, PLD does confirm it's 3 damage he does. So
like PLD would know.
Yeah, PLD doesn't know. So
Grace, that's my question.
Rave Tuba and Iceman stage now. As you can see him with a dead stop trying to run, he just kind of ran in place there for a bit. So Iceman loves ice physics, obviously. So here's going to be the first case of pop-ups dropping in midair. You see Rave Tuba basically going back to Buster here to go over the spike pits. If he would have kept Rolling Cutter and got a Rolling Cutter power-up over a spike pit, he would have lost momentum and probably just fell in a spike pit and died.
Good idea there to switch to the Buster. Now Rave Tuba has no lives left, so has to be very careful on this.
Yeah, there's probably the most difficult jump of the game is coming up, so we'll see if it takes it
through the spike as it lands
by defeating the Sniper Joe or damage boosting, which is the speedrun route. So it's coming up right now.
Yeah, this jump here, I've watched many people fall in the pit many of times during
he is taking a slow
route.
Which is a good idea if you only have one life.
Yeah, so that's the risk. Is Rave Tuba would have to do the whole level over again if they fall in the pit. So they're gonna be okay though.
He's about to do Iceman, which you'll want the Elect Beam for.
I would consider if I were Rave Tuba taking an intentional death on the next stage.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You also saw him miss the first shot with Iceman. For some reason, his sprite is not loaded up properly at the start of the fight, so you have to wait like half a second before you fire your first Elect Beam, or it would just go right through him. So
did Reboot have to? Did Reboot run out of lives on Adam's Family?
Apparently, yeah.
Oh man, I mean, you can see how intense Adam's Family was in terms of Rave Tuba and Garbanzo Guy both on their were on their last life on the final boss. Now, granted, that was because they were taking a aggressive strategy and kind of burned through their lives, which on the final boss. But and then we've had 2 people game over, so pretty brutal. Definitely one of the bigger influencers of this race so far, if not the biggest.
Yeah. It's actually 8 bosses for the Mega Man games on Game Boy, but in the first, in this one, in Dr. Wily's Revenge, the 4 other bosses actually do not have a separate level tied to them.
Yeah, it's a boss rush.
Yeah.
So the way the Mega Man 1 through 4 on Game Boy worked is that they basically mashed. So Mega Man 1 on Game Boy takes 4 bosses from Mega Man 1 and 4 bosses from Mega Man 2. Then Mega Man 2 is 4 bosses from Mega Man 2, 4 bosses from Mega Man 3, NES. So that's how the Mega Man 1 through 4 Game Boys worked. Mega Man 5 is a whole different beast in itself, it's a phenomenal game.
Mega Man 2 Game Boy is actually considered the greatest game of all time. So
yeah, the soundtrack is great.
By nobody.
Shaq Fu is a really good game too. So
Sprinting Legs finishing off Adam's Family there with that kill, taking it a little bit safer, but congratulations to them for getting through, having to basically play the whole game twice. That's rough, but still plugging along here.
So you can see Rave Tuba here getting through Fireman stage here. Fun fact, I glitched this a long time ago, and I don't have a clip of it, but if you use the Elect Beam, like if you can lag out the fireballs dropping, I got them to never spawn again in this section. I was able to do it every time I've played, but I never clipped it.
That's interesting. I've never seen that before.
Rubble, congrats for having Mega Man 5, because that is a $100 game. So
indeed, yeah.
If it's the US version.
Yeah, if it's US. Japanese version
is just as expensive though.
Japanese version's what, like $20 or $30?
Yeah.
I have all of the US games, period. So, I do. All of them. I can lend some to you sometime, EBC.
I need to get the Singer sewing machine.
I do not have that, to be fair. I don't count that. Oh, that didn't come out in the US. Rave Tuba not taking the game over intentionally could come back and waste some significant time for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's doing
the-
fine though. Like, unless he really screws up Fireman, he should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, pretty low on health, but I mean, do hope,
Yeah, so
obviously,
like
but-
those fireman sprites at the top there, like if they body you, it's a lot of damage.
Ooh, that sucks.
Yep, that's what I said.
He didn't use the manipulation, so yeah. Oh, that's a setback.
Yep, that's why I said,
Yeah, it's a back.
honestly, in a marathon like this, wasting 10 seconds to game over intentionally is
This is a
for
good
refund
idea.
lives is not a bad idea. Still in the lead, but
Garbanzo's catching
Garbanzo
up.
does, yeah, with this Mega Man run, they could be a lot closer than they were at the start of it. That's the second game over by Rave Tuba on Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge. And I honestly think that last one was a little bit I really think, but it's tough to think of those things on the fly, especially when you're used to doing speed runs of a game, outside of a marathon setting where you reset if you game over or die, to take into account where you are in the race, lead wise, and whether you should intentionally game over or not. You've got a lot that you're thinking through, and so that can be pretty.
Yeah, the mindset when going into these types of things, like you practice these games like individually. Sometimes you'll put like a full run together of like all 10 games, but like typically when you do these, you're doing them one at a time, and if you mess up, you're resetting to keep practice going. So when the day comes when you got a race, it's like, oh, I messed up. Like it's hard not to reach that reset button or press the soft reset combination on the controller.
The other thing to keep in mind is that these runners don't necessarily know where the other runners are at in the race. I know I didn't when I was doing mine. So, Rave Tuba having already game overed and made some mistakes, chasing somebody else. And we might want to swap in Captain Duck. Is that possible? I don't know.
Yeah, so I can give everyone a quick update. It looks like Captain Duck is in DWR right now as well. He is doing Cutman. Infinite Mystery is on Wario Land still on the final boss. Garbanzo is heading to Elect Man fight. Reboot is in Adam's Family. Rave Tuba obviously going to do the Fireman fight or Iceman fight.
Yeah, can we swap out? We got Captain Duck coming on here.
Okay. Legs and Fortified Zone.
Yeah, so our top 3 runners here are Rave Tuba, Garbanzo, and Captain Duck, all on Dr. Wily's Revenge. Captain Duck, I think, finished second in Tiny 10 last Tiny 10. I can't remember.
No. It was Atraz, Greensy Saber, and Enemy of the top 3s of last.
Oh yeah, I thought Captain Duck won one at some point, like 4.
I wouldn't bring that up to him. He's pretty salty about Tiny 10 too.
Oh, so is Infinite doing Wario Land 2 blind, or did he practice that one?
It's possible. I don't know.
Infinite known for doing long marathons completely blind for because he's crazy.
But he just got done doing the Sega Master System. Was it?
Yeah,
16 or
but he
Master?
loves doing even if he hasn't practiced it, he'll do a whole big 20, Tiny 10, anything blind. Whether it takes him 48 hours or whatever, he'll do it. He's insane. Definitely worth a follow. He's one of the nicest guys on Twitch. Garbanzo taking an intentional game over there. Strategy of his own. Maybe listening in on commentary and saying, you know what? Those 3 fellas, they got some good ideas.
Oh, Tuba here. So we didn't talk about mashing A and B whenever you see Wily on the screen. So
Sure, why don't we talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So whenever Wily is on the screen, for some reason in DWR, if you just alternate mash A and B, the cutscenes are faster. I don't remember how much faster they are, but they're faster. So it's I mean, it's not important, but it's a free time save.
Never heard of that happening in Mega Man. Yeah, maybe we should talk about that. Crazy also makes some good points.
Tremaine told me about it when I was casually playing it and spoiling the game for me.
Yeah, here on the screen that you see Garbanzo guy on, the to stand under that third spike that falls down and boost up through it, but obviously safer not to do that. Here, not electing to take the damage there, which I think kind of makes it easier because the spikes are one-hit kill in Mega Man, as most of us know. We got a fairly close here, 3 people in the same game still, so that's good. I think RaveTube was still in the lead though, with Garbanzo behind and then Captain Duck.
Yeah, we should give a shout out to all those people with new times in Mega Man 1 Game Boy. Andy, the current record holder right now, putting some serious time into that game and learning it very, very quickly. Tremaine, coming back and getting the first sub-18 of Mega Man 1 Game Boy. There's been a lot of work in this game recently.
It's super weird to see a Game Boy game, a Game Boy Mega Man game without Tremaine having world record. I'll say that.
Very weird.
For the last 3 years, I'd say, I think at least he's had world record in all 5 Mega Man Game Boy games. Mr. Cap took 5 world record from him for about 12 hours earlier this year, and that's the only time I've seen him lose a world record until Andy came along. But as we know, Andy is also top tier speedrunner, so
that's Swedish blood.
Do anything in Sweden but freaking play old games.
Pretty much true.
It's like, does anybody do anything else in Sweden?
I don't think so.
There's like, what's the population of Sweden, and then what's the speedrunning population of Sweden? Like, percentage-wise, it's got to be like 30% of them are professional speedrunners.
Yeah.
It's out of control.
I mean, you have Andy, and Andy's kids are probably be, speedrunners, and
Andy's kids probably will. Here you see some of what EBC was talking about, switching over to Buster so you don't get a refill and bit.
So these moles that RaveTube are in right now, like they're dumb. So they basically they'll spawn right in front of Mega Man's face, and you don't want to walk through them because they do a lot of damage and it lags the game a lot. So the way RaveTube is doing it right now, he's doing it pretty safe. He's getting a lot of refills in the process too, but like watching Andy, Prissy, and Tremaine and them, like, damage boost through that is one of the most nerve-wracking things I watch in the speedrun of this. So you can see
I like that speedrunning.
So we have RaveTube now going into the quote-unquote boss refights, which instead of boss refights, they are the Mega Man 2 bosses. So you will see Quick Man, Flash Man, Bubble Man, and Heat Man.
Yeah, it's weird because you get their powers, but it like feels so unearned because normally in a Mega Man game, like you play through a whole level to get a power, and this you just get 4 new powers like immediately.
Yeah, you don't even use the majority of them, except for actually fighting the bosses in this place.
Yeah.
Heatman's weapon is necessary for the final stage and for the final boss to do the fight quicker, but that's actually about it.
Yeah, when fighting Quickman there, you don't want to get hit by Quickman because body damage from Quickman is a lot. So if you are going to take damage, you want to get hit by his weapon instead. Mm-hmm. Something to note about this game as well is that these runners get an item called Carry after going into Wily 1, which is basically like kind of like a temporary guts block they can place down to get moving. So, which you'll see come in use in Wily 2.
RaveTube taking a death on Flashman. What you can do with Flashman is intentionally get hit right before he does his time stopper, so you can keep on moving. If you will roll on health, that's of course not a very good idea, but that's the way to finish him off quickly.
Yeah, so Rave 2 been taking out Flashman. Probably gonna go on to Bubble Man next.
Yes.
So another weird part about this quote-unquote boss rush is we're going to go to Bubble Man next. Hopefully it goes to Bubble Man next. And he's going to use Bubble Man's weapon against Heat Man. So we have an immediate weapon swap in the next fight with a weapon we just got.
Yeah, and hopefully, if Rave Tuba knows how to do it, you can actually get a double shot on the Heatman with the bubble. It is not really hard to do. It's just about placement, actually. But yeah, that's a thing called a double bubble, where you actually hit him twice before he goes into his iframes.
Yeah, so now we go on to Heat Man. And Heat Man is the exact same fight as you saw in Mega Man 2, if you've ever played Mega Man 2 NES. He has, Heat Man has, 3 different speeds he can come at you at? Something crazy like that.
Yeah, definitely not going for the double bubbles there.
Double bubble. Alright, so now that Heat Man is down, we're gonna see Anchor, and Anchor is a gem.
Yeah, he's one of the original quote-unquote robot masters for the Game Boy games. Each one has one of them. They're called the Mega Man Killers. In the first game it's Anchor, in the second game it's a future version of Mega Man called Quint. The third one has Punk, and the fourth one has Blade, and the fifth one actually has all 4 of them in the game as well, besides the completely original Star Droids.
Yeah, so the Anchor fight here, he's basically Robot Samurai guy who, once you shoot him, he powers up his sword, and depending on how many buster shots you put into his sword, will depend on how big the beam is that comes out. I believe you can manipulate his movement as well, depending on how far away you are from him. Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I think it's pure RNG, but you do want him to do a double jump when he's going through the other side, because you can actually hit Anchor while he's jumping. When he's just running, you cannot hit him. The reason why is completely unknown, but that's the way this fight works. Rave Tuba dying against Anchor, having to replay the entire Wily castle, sadly. And that includes all bosses.
It was third game over on Dr. Wily's Revenge. Definitely giving room for Garbanzo and Captain Duck to catch up, considering the significant lead he had going into the game. I think he had almost a full games lead going in.
Yeah. So Garbanzo and Ray died now.
Yeah, they're on the same stream basically.
No, Captain Duck is also... Actually, Captain Duck is in the lead right now.
So, like I said, predicted Nostradamus here, Nostra Carls, there will be a lead change at some point during Dr. Wily's Revenge.
And we still have Double Dragon coming up.
So we got Double Dragon and Mario Land 2.
So good, so good.
And Ninja Spirit.
Don't forget Penguin Wars.
Oh my god, Penguin Wars. The best game in the list, honestly.
Is there a leaderboard now for Penguin Wars? Does that make
sense?
Yeah,
there is.
There was one before.
I'm really happy.
The new leaderboards.
I remember when I beat that game. So Penguin Wars casually took me 8 minutes. So I don't know what it's been. But it literally took me 8 minutes, and I was like, I don't know what to do now, because I feel dirty. The game's over. I shouldn't be able to count it, but there was nothing else to do. RaveTube actually having the world record in that at 4 minutes 37 seconds. So
indeed,
almost than any other speedrunner. So RaveTube.
There are a few new. Go ahead.
Infinite Mysteries and Marble Madness now, so.
Yeah, RaveTuba representing Portugal and holding down that Penguin Wars world record. So, just coming up. Huge. Other runners will probably take hours to beat Penguin Wars.
Probably, yeah. It's an incredibly hard game.
It's a pretty intense game.
I think
don't know
Penguin
how
Wars
I
is going to be my coffee refill time. I'm not going to lie.
That's alright. There's not much to say about that game anyways.
The bat is the best character in the game.
I'm not so sure about that. I don't think it really matters.
It's hard for me to say. I only played it for 8 minutes ever in my life. So. I believe that's the shortest game of Game Boy Quest so far.
I think for me that would be Mr. Shin's Gourmet Paradise.
Oh, that took me like 45 minutes.
Mine was Shaq Fu.
Yeah, there are a few of those games that are like super short. Fist of the North Star, for example, Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat 2. Those are all like sub 10-minute games, even casually. So,
Ugh, I hate them all.
You know what a fun
so bad.
You know what a fun Game Boy game is though? Fish Dude.
I love Fish Dude.
That was
I
a fun
love
game.
Fish Dude.
You guys were expecting Alien 3, weren't you?
That is all you talk about.
It is a good game.
No, Fish Dude reminds me of Odell's Like. If you ever played that as a kid on like the Apple II or whatever, when you like go to computer lab in like 5th grade, and Odell's Like you'd like eat different fish and then you'd grow. It was like teaching you about evolution or something. Rave Tuba going into the refights now again. Man, that was a very costly death by Rave Tuba, huh? The game over. And that's several minutes for sure.
He should have plenty of lives to get through it this time, though.
So he's making quick work of Quickman.
Well, it is a speedrun, so...
He is quick, man. Yeah, R-Type also, I'm curious if that'll cause issues because, I mean, if people haven't practiced R-Type, that can be a tough game, even on easy, like, in terms of, you can lose a lot of time dying. World record of that,
I have the world record of that, yes.
In that for a bit. I mean, about that in terms of difficulty for the runners, like, what do you expect? I don't remember how much of a penalty you get from dying.
There are plenty of checkpoints throughout the game, and as far as I know, it also has unlimited continues. I think the continues do put you back at the start of the levels, so you would have to redo them. But the biggest problem for R-Type is probably stage 4, which puts you in some kind of maze, and that's something that I had trouble with as a kid as well, to try and remember where to go exactly and what the safe spots are. But I did make like a tutorial for it, because yeah, like there wasn't a speedrun of this. Shmups are not very popular speedrun games because they're basically auto-scrollers. What most people do is they do like the 1cc attempts or high score attempts. 1cc being not die once, of course, or just at least do not die more than the amount of lives you are given throughout the game, so you don't have to continue.
Yeah.
You can see Captain Duck here doing the anchor fight, and you can see him hitting anchor when he does his double jump here.
Anchor?
Anchor, yeah, which is a Japanese type of music genre. So, like always with Mega Man games, they try to name their robots after music stuff.
Yeah, have you ever played like the Mega Man X series? Like they named some of their robots forever after the bandmates of Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, that was only for the US version though. That was for
US
Mega
version
Man
is the best
X5.
version.
It's always been that way though. Rockman, Roll, Beat.
Yep, Tango is the cat in Mega Man Game Boy 5. Blues is actually the name of Proto Man. Got Bass.
Tango is such a worthless cat.
Garbanzo might be taking a death here.
Garbanzo got this. Garbanzo, Mega Man God.
More like, okay. I had nothing there, but that was clutch.
So Captain Duck and Wily 2 now, you can see carrying, so he needs to get up on those ice blocks there to melt them away. Wily 2 is a little tricky towards the end, but overall it's a pretty straightforward stage.
And it introduces the most fun 2 hallways in the entire game, consisting of nothing but Yoku blocks.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called? Yoku blocks?
It's actually something that that happened because of Mega Man Unlimited. When that game came out, they introduced a secret robot master called Yoku Man, who is said to have created all those blocks. So it's not official, but Mega Man Unlimited is probably the best fan-made Mega Man game ever made. So it should be called canon. So
Screw Yoku Man.
from then on, we always called them Yoku blocks.
Yeah, so Captain Duck getting into that first hallway there, not a big issue, but the next hallway with those blocks is going to be something to watch and see if Captain Duck memorized the pattern to those.
It's super weird seeing somebody in a Mega Man speedrun actually use those blocks, because almost every Mega Man game speedrun in existence finds some way to skip those, whether it's with Magnet Beam or clips or damage boosts or something. So it's weird to see somebody actually go through those.
Yeah, the problem with the Game Boy game, of course, is you can only put one carry on the screen at a time, so you cannot like use it to create multiple platforms to get through faster. And Captain Duck almost dying there. He did save himself. That was actually incredible. I could not have done that myself.
That was quick thinking.
Jesus.
Captain
the timing is a little bit wonky.
The Captain has that backup plan. That was clutch. I thought both those
Really
times he was
cool.
dead. So that was a nifty move.
So with the birds coming into the screen, Santi, you already saw the first bird in Wily 2. You're going to see them pop up again. The bird comes out the way you're facing once you've entered the room. So if the runners pay attention to what they're doing on a ladder, they should be able to manipulate which way that bird is going to spawn into the room. So they'll either not take damage or will take a damage purposely because of it.
You can hear eBloody typing while giving commentary, talking trash to both me.
Yeah, that was me typing, actually.
There's no bullying you on Discord again.
Well, commentating and talking trash to me at the same time.
I
can't compete with that. So when is Mega Man 2 going to make a Tiny 10?
Oh, we already had it.
It was already in Tiny 10-1.
Why isn't it in all of them, though?
Why isn't Shaq Fu in all of them?
What about or Maru? What about Maru's mission?
Oh,
We didn't have that game yet, no, that's for sure.
Yeah.
if we
That
played
would be
Maru's
fun.
Mission,
We could see
Japanese only.
just due to pure RNG, since the whole game's RNG. That'd be awesome.
We still have
Printing
big
like starting
library
up
to
on
pick
Mega
games
Man
from.
now. So we got 4 of our racers on Mega Man now. Web.
That's
Duck electing to take a little time to get some extra lives and such. I'm not really sure why he decided to do that, considering maybe it was for the health. 'Cause
Maybe he's not confident with the final boss. I don't know. Could be a lot
Yeah,
of things.
maybe it's not that good.
that's a lot. He already had 3 lives.
Well, you can never be safe enough.
It's true.
I mean, if you would have to redo this stage, I think this is the slowest stage of all of them.
It's a long stage.
So yeah.
So with Captain Duck coming to the Wily fight here soon, Wily fight has 2 phases. First phase, you're gonna see him use the heat power up, and Wily's gonna be shooting some spike balls at him. With the heat weapon, you can actually charge the weapon. I don't know if you're gonna see Captain Duck charge the weapon or not. Typically in a speedrun, you don't charge it up at all, but But it is a thing you can do. So here's Wily Phase 1.
He's gonna take it out just to have full health.
That's a
for
smart
while.
decision.
That's a smart call, yeah.
I mean, honestly, taking intentional game overs versus not has been the biggest reason why this lead change has just significantly shifted. I think, but not a main reason, but definitely part of it. Captain Duck catching up several minutes of time game from execution and from the other runners struggling.
And now you will see the only use of the anchor weapon in the entire game. What it does, it creates a shield right in front of you that actually reflects bullets, and this is the only way to damage the final boss.
Is it? That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, the problem is,
what if you run out?
Hopefully it doesn't happen, but if you run out of the anchor weapon and you need about half a bar of the energy, if you run out, you're basically completely screwed and you have to redo the entire stage again.
Yeah, because you'd have to intentionally game over. That's the only way you'd be able to refill.
Refill.
But no
GG
issue with
Captain
that.
Duck.
GG to Captain Duck for finishing off Dr. Wily's Revenge. Really was in third when the game started and switched over to first. So big lead change.
Now we go to Penguin Wars.
Probably the premier Penguin battle game on the Game Boy, if not top 3.
Captain Duck chose the best character in the game.
Time to specifically grab the bat. I like that.
So with Penguin Wars, your goal is to get all of the balls on one side of the board. To do so, you want to try and hit your opponent because it stuns them temporarily. There is a bit of a pattern that you can do with some of the bosses where if you just go left to right and right to left, just mashing a button, you'll just permanently stun them forever.
Mm-hmm. You also see him taking an intentional lose. That's because if you win 2 rounds in a row, you actually go into a bonus round, which takes up a lot of time. So the way to avoid that is actually lose a few rounds so you never end up playing those.
Samantha, all I'm trying to say is it's at least one of the top 10 Penguin battle games of all time.
Ever, yes, for sure.
Looks like a bat battle game right now. Bat Wars.
True, there's no penguins in this game right now, which is kind of upsetting me, to be honest.
Yeah, they completely named the game wrong when they ported it to different regions.
It's Penguin Wars. There's only one penguin.
Yeah, it's not called that in the original Japanese, I believe. Also not in Europe, where it's called King of the Zoo. It's just for
King
America.
of the Zoo. That's a great name for this.
Yeah, they just called it Penguin Wars.
That actually makes
America
sense
for some reason.
Because we're the greatest country in the world.
So you can see here Captain Duck getting some pretty bad luck on the movement on the other end of the board here, but looks like he'll make.
How much of this is RNG?
Not that much.
Not a lot. No. How many rounds are there? There's 10 rounds? 8 rounds?
Well, I think there's 6 opponents, so each with 2 rounds. So, or maybe it's 5 opponents. It's 6 characters, so you do not fight yourself. So 10 rounds, I would say.
My favorite opponent was always the mouse, I think it was, because whenever you hit the mouse, you couldn't see it behind the board anymore.
GraveTube is still having some troubles, apparently, with the Wily Spaceship stage, because I thought he was way ahead earlier, but now he's sent back, apparently.
Yeah,
Garbanzo.
Mega Man's tough.
Yeah. Oh, Garbanzo, no. One more try to get through Anchor.
Yeah, Mega Man 1 is, I would argue, the second hardest Mega Man Game Boy game out there.
Yeah. third one spans the crown with that one.
Mega Man 3 Game Boy is the crown holder for hardest Game Boy Mega Man.
Ooh, Garbanzo. Having to redo Wily 1.
So you see Rave using Cutter against the big eyes there, or whoever the heck they're called. If you use Bubble, it takes 2 or 3 bubbles to actually kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Bubble is their actual weakness. We got a Penguin and Penguin Wars. We weren't lying.
There is the Penguin. Yeah, the problem with Mega Man 3 is that there are a few jumps in that game that are completely ridiculous. And a lot of people have trouble with those. Like, I know all the Mega Man Game Boy games by heart, but that one, it just, yeah, it's not easy.
Dustman stage, that's all I'll say.
Dustman is also pretty brutal because of not only the Dust Crusher section, but again because the entire level ends with one of those ridiculously hard jumps.
Well, there is a room in the Dustman stage of Mega Man 3, kind of going off tangent, where you have to either take a damage boost and put Rush Coil and spikes to get through it, or do some real tricky jumping with Rush Coil to get out of the room.
Neat.
So, oof. Looks like Captain Duck having some hard times against the Penguin.
Yeah.
Penguin's the end boss here. So in Penguin Wars, once you've lost your set, your 2 sets in a game, you have to start over again.
Yeah,
there's no continues, obviously, because it's such a short game. So you kind of have to be semi-perfect throughout the entire run.
Wow, PLD asking to ban me from commentary. That hurts. Words hurt. I missed a game over. Who game overed?
Garbanzo game over on Anchor.
Yeah, and Captain Duck game over on the Penguin.
Yeah.
Ooh. Captain Duck and Rave Tuba, or not Captain Duck, Garbanzo and Rave Tuba definitely giving way though for Captain Duck to got quite a bit. Now, if you game over in Penguin Wars, you have to start the whole thing over?
Yeah, sadly you do.
Well, Rave Tuba is
the
really
RNG
good at
doesn't
this.
like you.
Fortunately, Rave Tuba or Garbanzo not able to take advantage of that time loss yet.
Not
Still
yet.
struggling with Wily's Castle here.
So yeah, something else to think about in Penguin Wars is that there's a time limit also per set. So whoever has the most balls on the side of their board at the end of a minute, will lose, obviously. So even if you can't get them in a permanent stun lock, if you're starting to run low on time, you want to race to get as many balls across the board as you can.
The nice part about that is that it says you are an excellent player afterwards, which is...
We all know if you let the time limit
Very
run out,
encouraging.
you're not an excellent player.
Yeah, it's very encouraging. No, you're still good. Don't you worry. You couldn't beat the rabbit, but...
Ooh, Garbanzo's really having trouble with the fights there. And Rave Tuba, hopefully he manages to at least get the extra... I think there's one extra life somewhere after the ladder section. If he can get that, he should be good for a while.
Legs on their last life going against Cut here. Might have to redo the level as well. A lot of struggles with Dr. Wily, I told you guys.
For sure, it's...
EVC said
not
no.
easy.
Baby game.
It is a baby game.
Okay, sprinting legs, clutching it out, getting to progress. At this rate, sprinting legs might catch up to Garbanzo Guy and Rave Tuba if they can't finish these refights. Really struggling here. I feel like they got through the... I feel like the refights aren't as tough as the other stuff they got through quicker, but...
No, definitely not. No, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I knew DWR would have some setbacks. I was really curious where those setbacks would be.
Yeah, I didn't think the refights were gonna be the part
No,
that,
definitely not.
honestly, but you know, it's a long stage, having to go through the stage and the refights, so you know, a lot of room for error. Plus these, you know, the long platforming hallways, there's all kinds of different stuff. But
What is that? Is that a naked sprite running across the board in Penguin Wars? When you hit it, it drinks?
Yeah, that's stuff that
How did this
sometimes
game-
happens when you take
How
too
did
much
this
stuff.
game get approved in America?
what is that? What is that, like is that an angel or something?
I have no idea.
Why is it drinking? What is it drinking? I do not remember that.
Milk, of course.
Of course, milk.
That's weird because there's a cow right there. Like, is that offensive? I don't really know. I mean, I've never been a cow myself, but very strange. Wow, Bat getting wrecked. Almost lost there.
Bats don't lose
Just
against
getting
cows.
stumped. Oh, and the
You want to
counter.
lose purposely because if you win a perfect round, you have to do a mini game, and that just wastes time.
I don't know. The pace of this one, Captain Duck should just finish. Just needs to beat it and not worry about mini games. I feel like.
Yeah.
Ah! Oh, it's always so close. That last ball was just rolling in right when he threw one out, or else it was. Oh,
He's trying to
Comeback.
get a timeout so he doesn't get the bonus round. I think that's what's happening.
I
right
see.
now.
well, I was worried. I was on the edge of my seat. I didn't need the whole chair, just the edge. You are an excellent player. You are awarded.
Penguin time. This is revenge. Showed that penguin what was up.
And what? How are our other two runners doing?
So, who we have on stream? Okay, so we have Reboot in Adam's Family. Looks like he. I don't know where he's at in Adam's Family. I don't know Adam's Family very well.
He must have game over
Um,
again.
Possibly. I see some saw blades. Infant is getting through marbles right now.
Alright, Garbanzo is out of Wily's castle at least. He can
Good.
still maybe catch up to Rave 2, but if he keeps on having trouble during the spaceship, because he took another game over.
Definitely, this end game just causing a lot of issues here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Again, really excited to see what happens during Double Dragon.
They're all
That's
gonna
gonna
just
be another fun thing to
Oh, and a
see.
draw.
Garbanzo guy dying intentionally. I guess he's going for an intentional game over, even with the one life. He's not willing to
Yeah, just to be sure.
full lives with the, you know, since he's been struggling.
There's only one name to fear in Double Dragon. A Bobo.
Well,
There's a lot of
Cave
Abobos.
Abobo, mostly.
There's a lot of
Okay.
Abobo.
Cave a Bobo.
Cave
Abobo.
Abobo is the worst.
Correct.
Perfect game.
If this was a real life, like, sporting thing that you could go watch with animals, I would definitely pay to see that.
Oh, we have bonus game.
We have bonus game.
Yeah, how do you pluralize a bobo?
A Bobo, I.
Bobi? I say a bobi.
Bye-bye.
Abobo.
Ooh, Rave Tuba dying right in front of the checkpoint. Yeah, that is brutal.
Rave Tuba was in a huge lead going into Dr. Wily's Revenge. Probably like,
He was
Or
two or
more?
he was 1 or 2 games ahead. Yeah.
and just right here at the end and throughout, he's just really struggled with this run, unfortunately, which has been setting him back quite a bit. It's easy to get on tilt once you start struggling with something. You start pressing, trying to catch up time, knowing that
Oh,
you're
here's the
losing
mouse that
time.
you can't see on the other side of the board.
Yeah,
Ooh,
there he
the
is.
mouse.
Yeah, the rat. Just yells help, give up in the back there when you hit it.
That rat is like got some really strong legs if it's jumping and throwing each time.
He's got his Air Jordans on.
Yeah, he's doing some Kobe here. Bobo is a bobo bobo. Okay.
That
A Bobo?
sounds correct.
Bobo boys. I don't know. You fight a lot of abobis on in Double
Yeah.
Dragon. I'm looking forward to talking about that game because I had a lot of fun routing it. Yeah,
It
this
is
is
a very fun game.
Garbanzo taking another game over. Captain Duck taking considerably longer with Penguin Wars than I was expecting. I don't know what's going on
He
here.
had the one game over, and then he had a draw, and then he had a bonus game. So
Yeah,
Might have taken this game for granted a little bit.
and
That's
we're gonna have
probably
another
easy to
bonus game
do.
here. So which is
Easy
alright.
to take
He has
games
he has
like
one
this
more
for
game.
granted.
Yeah, he has
Focus
one more
he put on Dr.
round left.
Wily- The focus he put on Dr. Wily probably saved him
Yeah,
more
much
yeah,
time
time
in this race.
for sure.
So
Yeah, Captain Duck put a lot of time into Mega Man 1, Double Dragon for sure.
these runners,
Wondering
that,
how much time got put in Super Mario Land 2, because when everybody saw that game and was like, oh, it's Super Mario Land 2, I know that game, it's easy to beat. But it's a whole different world if you're trying to speedrun it.
yeah.
Like, it's a 40-minute game casually, I would say, if you're not going for all stages or anything. But yeah, like, that's still 15 minutes away from the actual world record, so there's a lot of movement involved in that game.
It took
All
me
these
40
runners-
minutes to beat the last level of Super Mario Land 2.
Yeah, that was a very fun stream.
All these runners
Yeah.
definitely pretty excited that Atros is not running right now, since he would probably be done with all the games. And
Yeah, where
I've
is
also like
Atros?
cooked a souffle while doing it.
Yeah, he sure did. It did
We're in
use that
R-Type.
later, though, so... I mean,
Wave Tuba on his last life again. Whew.
So the duck is in R-Type now. Mo, you know a lot about this game.
You've played this game once, right?
No, I didn't. I've never seen this before. This is a really strange game. No, this was actually the first Game Boy I ever owned in my life. I got the Game Boy with the Tetris bundled, of course, and R-Type. I got. So I have been playing this game since I was 4 years old. Could never beat it before I was well in my teens because of stage 4. My feeble brain could not keep up with stage 4 maze. I could not understand it.
Are you implying your brain is less feeble now?
Depends on how much I've drank. I'm at my second beer now, so it's still pretty okay. But
Why am
it
I
might
not drinking beer?
Might change during the course of.
You're
this
doing
evening.
commentary way better than I am. Because you have a beer, and like I'm just too stupid to even think of getting a beer.
Oh, yeah, like I said before, shmups are not the go-to games for speedruns because they're basically auto-scrolls, and the only ways to save time in these games are either by lag reduction or by having a good boss strategy. So lag is
Lots
not
of
really
lag
an
reduction.
issue with this game, at least not the reduction. There's not that much you can do, except
Really?
for not shoot all the time. But
Shmups
if
have
you're,
a
like,
significant amount of lag reduction for their speedruns. That's surprising.
Yeah, it's like just not shoot the entire time unless you're, of course, in like a marathon race. It will not save you that much time if you
Sure.
just shoot all the time. But the
Really, in a
biggest
setting
thing is,
like
of
this,
course,
the goal
boss
is to not
strategies.
die.
Yeah.
Shmups.
So
You
I
do
see-
have plenty of lives in this game.
I see a lot of things happen on the screen here with Captain Duck. I see like a ball on top of him, some sort of like gem in front of his face, like some laser beams. Like, what the heck is going on here?
So you have basically 4 weapons. You have your standard shooter that's attached to your ship itself. You have 3 sub weapons, which is either a bouncing laser, a circle laser right in front of you, or like a crawling on edges weapon, which you will see coming up. You also have the thing right in front of you, which is called a force, which has 3 levels to it. So each time it gets a little stronger and it upgrades your secondary weapon. And floating things above and below you, you can have 2 of those, are called bits. And they basically protect you from incoming projectiles. The force is probably the biggest part of R-Type. It's a thing you can attach and detach from your ship, which does damage on its own on contact, and you can put it in front of or behind you to also absorb some incoming projectiles. So
yeah, it makes a big difference because you can shoot it right into the enemy's hitbox or damage point and just leave it there.
Indeed. So that's one of the biggest parts of R-Type, is that you actually just use that force thing to shoot it right into the what's it called, the weak spot of the bosses. You can leave it there. If you're lucky, you can lock it in place there. If the bosses are designed so you can do that, and then you can just stay safe with your ship.
For you, the biggest thing I think to look for in this type of setting for a shmup is how punishing it is when you die, especially losing your power-ups, because I think of like Nemesis on the Game Boy. If you die in the wrong spot and lose all your power-ups, you can get stuck for a really long time. Does that exist in R-Type?
R-Type is probably one of the most lenient shmups ever when it comes to dying. Like you said, Nemesis or Gradius. When you lose your power-ups later in the game, you're pretty much screwed and you would have to restart unless you're really good at the game. R-Type is a lot more forgiving. They always give you at least 1 power-up before entering a boss, which is usually the force, which you can use to attack the bosses. But yeah, it has good checkpoints. It also has a very good difficulty curve, so you can always come back out of on top.
Yeah, there's some really good shmups for the Game Boy. I routed Barai Fighter Deluxe is a good one. I like that one a lot. There's Nemesis, there's Solar Striker, there's Battle Unit Zeoth. There's a lot of good shmups.
You have Tailspin, which is not like technically a shmup, but still kind of is.
Mercenary Force,
Arrow Star, Segaya. There's a lot of great shmups on Game Boy. Some are not that good because there's too much lag in them. But
yeah, that's why I was surprised you said there's not much lag in this, because not only is lag reduction a huge part of speedrunning most shmups, but most Game Boy games in general are laggy, and lag reduction matters for, even most Game Boy platformers. So it is interesting to hear that. Here on this boss, I know at least casually this is the best way to kill him, with this fire thing wrapping around it, because you can take care of all these cannons. Makes it a lot easier. If you lose this power up, it is much more difficult.
There is one thing to keep in mind during this section, which you see where you go beneath the ship and there's the boosters underneath it. Like I said, if you use your force to actively damage some of the parts, the problem here is you're also shooting, and it actually kind of negates damage because there's too much damage going in at once. So it's actually better to go back a little bit and not try to put your force in there, so it actually kills those things before you hit them. But there's a good use of the force where you just put it on the boss's weak spot and you're just staying there.
Are we supposed to make a joke about, like a Star Wars joke about the Force here? Or...
You can do that for sure.
Rave Tuba on Wily, finally.
Let's hope he can finish him off, because, the damage is not looking good.
He's got several lives, he's got full anchor. Oh, Okay, he's got plenty of anchor. Hopefully be fine.
Though is where he'll
Tenebrae mocking
take his
lag
easy to
reduction. To be fair, lag reduction is the least interesting aspect of speedrunning. Like, it's not sexy. It's not like, hey, here, I did a frame perfect glitch. And yet it is super important to lots of different speedruns.
Yeah, here's
people
the,
like the
fourth stage of R-Type, which is a very brutal stage if you do not know where to go. All those things you see on the screen that look like, well, they look like turrets, let's just call it like it is. They can only be damaged from the backside of it. There's a little spot you can use to kill them, but most of them are like, unkillable at the moment. You're there. So all you can do in this stage is find the perfect spots where they actually do not reach you. And there's also not really a boss for this stage. It's just a stationary screen where you have to dodge these types of enemies until they're all gone.
Yeah, it's also like important to know the hitbox of your ship for this level, because it looks so long and these corridors are so narrow, and the things coming at you, you need to know which areas you can kind of cheat and hit the wall. Like your force can hit the wall, and then this boss fight can be a pain casually for sure. When you're trying to avoid these different sections, and this took me a long time for sure.
Yeah, this stage took me a long time casually to beat.
But Captain Duck looking like he's doing a really good job with this.
Yeah, he's doing pretty fine. Like, if you stay on the right side where he is right now, you can kill almost all of the, I don't remember their names, you can kill almost all of them the moment they spawn, except for the ones that appear in the opposite direction. And then you have to go to the left side to avoid those, but that's basically it. You do not have to do anything else, just go right and left when you actually cannot stay on the right, that's all.
Important to note Rave Tuba choosing the bat as well. And as we said, Rave Tuba world record holder of this game, so maybe we can make up a little time over the other runners here.
Yeah, I think people especially take the bat because as an adversary, he's a lot harder to deal with than the other characters, but you do not gain any abilities between the characters you actually pick.
It's easier to skimp on practice for a game like Penguin Wars, looking at the difficult games ahead, but considering it took Captain Duck probably like 10-12 minutes to beat it, and probably will take, Tuba like 5 minutes shorter than that, it's gonna be a significant difference. So it's good advantage to him to have the world record in this, obviously.
For sure. The stage where Captain Duck is in right now is actually the only stage where you really do not want to die. The reason is actually the boss fight in this game. He only appears on screen for a few moments of time, and it's really hard to actually hit him with your own bullets. So you really want to have a force with you to deal with him. The problem is this checkpoint actually does not provide you with a force, so it is really mandatory to keep it on your ship and not die here.
This game also came out on the Game Boy Color, was remade, R-Type DX, which is I grew up with. It's pretty nice. But I guess that port's not as good as this version, is that right?
Well, the thing is, the game actually runs a bit faster, but because of the color scheme they use, a lot of the bullets that appear on screen, especially in higher difficulties, because this is easy mode that people are playing, although easy mode and hard mode on R-Type 1 are not that different, except for a few more bullets, maybe like 10 more bullets in total. But the problem with the DX version is that it cannot have all those things on screen at the same time, and the bullets of the enemies disappear and you have no idea what's going on.
So it's poorly programmed?
Probably, yeah. They do have the original versions on the DX version, so you can always play those. It's only the color versions that mess up.
This level gave me nightmares when I played it.
It's terrifying. Those babies?
They are like fetuses or embryos floating
My
around.
gosh.
Yeah. It's something like that.
terrible.
Not human though. Alien babies, of course.
See, in the
course,
80s and
of
90s,
course.
in the 80s and 90s, they didn't like care what they subjected children to. Now like you're only allowed to watch Baby Einstein or something. But back then they would just be like, yeah, here, watch Predator and go to sleep, kid. Here's
This
some
is
baby
also
fetuses
the
attacking you.
the game, though. The thing you see in the middle of the screen is an undestroyable object. As long as you stay on the left side of the screen, it will never hit you. There will be 2 of those before you actually get to the boss. And then there's a factor I haven't figured out yet. I know how it works in the arcade versions. It's like the longer time you take and the more hits you shoot at the boss while he's not vulnerable, he will create more of those swirly things in the middle. This version, however, it just seems completely random. Like, I've ended up with 5 before me or just 2 before me while doing the exact same thing, so. But yeah, that's the final boss. Whenever he opens up, you shoot the fours in him, you stay on the left side. Normally nothing can hit you. You might have to move a little bit down or up to avoid one of those flying things. But yeah, this is the boss. Will get destroyed after a while. A fun thing to also know about R-Type is, if it takes you too long to kill the bosses, they will just go away. And that's
I
what
didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah. Except
What do
for
you mean
that
they'll go
fourth boss,
away?
of course.
Like
Double Dragon.
Ooh.
There you go, John Carls.
Go
The
away.
game you know the most about.
Yeah,
I think John knows a little bit about this game.
Yeah, so when I picked up this game to route it, I don't even know why I did. I think I played it for Game Boy Quest and just really liked it. I think the world record was 17 something, and the task was not even very good at all. I ended up beating the task by like a minute and a half, because the biggest thing we discovered is in certain levels, if you are on the bottommost pixel of the stage and you knock off an enemy, you can knock them off the stage, even though it's not really intended for you to knock them off the stage there. So that's a big part of the speed run is doing that. And it is semi-pixel perfect. Yeah, world record used to be 1844, and I got a 1222. Monochromatics came along and bopped me by 1 second. Never speedran a game ever again. And then Atros came along and beat that by another minute. Found a bunch of new stuff, which I would be interested to see. A big part of it is also like knowing which combos to use. Certain combos can kill enemies in 1 hit instead of 2. Sometimes you can stun an enemy and then start a combo. You know, so it's really precise in knowing kind of how to kill enemies, how much health they have. And then the Abobo bites are really difficult to deal with. So definitely knocking them off the stage and not letting them beat the snot out of you is good. Here, you can knock these enemies straight off the stage if you'd like. I assume at least the ones coming through the door, you'll see that. Down a bit, and you'll see you can just knock them up. Here's the first Abobo bite.
So there's a set attack pattern you want to do in this game. It's like ABAA or something like that against bosses, right?
Against everything, for the most part, you want to do the same attack pattern, but it just depends on which one, like what enemy you're fighting. I think, honestly, like you could, if Atros does this, but if you were to perfectly time it on the Abobo fights, you could probably string together a ton of hits without knocking them over and save some time. But because you can see if you like kick, punch, kick, and then wait and don't do the finish move, then you can restart the combo. I don't know if anybody's tried to do that. I don't know how much time it would even save. You can also jump kick, which can be really useful for like quickly knocking an enemy off a level because you don't care about how much damage you're doing. So there's a lot of different combos of moves. These jumps, so you have to jump, you have to hit A and B at the same time. Some of these platforming jumps are pretty terrible. I mean, I think anybody who's played a Double Dragon game on the NES or Game Boy or anything knows that the platforming is not its strong suit, and so there's some pretty tight jumps that are a bit frustrating. It'll be interesting to see. There's ways to quick kill the bosses at the end of this second stage. It'll be interesting to see if they try those or not. Again, most of these time saves in Double Dragon are more considering like trying to go for world record in terms of this marathon, especially the way it's been going so far. In terms of maybe it's best to play it safe. More just not gaming over is going to be the key.
Yeah, I know Captain Duck. This has been his most recent game practiced, so this game is probably pretty fresh in his head.
It's actually a very, very fun port. Double Dragon 2 on the Game Boy, however, is terrible. It's absolutely terrible, but this is actually a fun game.
So, Captain Duck is now on the roof. If you actually, there's a couple ways you can do this section. If you position yourself correctly at the bottom of the building, all the enemies and sprites that come out of the door will just walk towards the bottom and fall off the building.
Yep.
And they're dead. Or what I've seen a few people do is you can throw them off of the building, or you can see what Captain Duck did and just fought the guy.
The best thing to do is stand near the ladder, and they'll come down the same way, and it's pretty consistent setup to knock them off. Now, I know it is possible to also knock that boss off the stage. However, it's really hard to get him onto your left and to the bottom quickly. I think Atros may have found a consistent way of doing that, but that's something I just never got around to. So, and Garbanzo with 3 lives entering Wily. So hopefully the the nightmare is over for both Brave Tuba and Garbanzo, who really struggled at the end of Dr. Wily's Revenge.
Yeah, so that bridge segment that Captain Duck was on, the second sprite, the second person trying to jump at you, will always miss that end of the bridge and fall in the water. Clearly, they didn't have their Air Jordans on.
Yeah, again, some terrible platforming. Easy to fall into the water in this third stage as well. Guy, that's fun.
Yeah, I remember playing Double Dragon casually for Game Boy Adventure. I was just like, this game's not bad. And then I got to, I think it was the last level with the walls that push you out, and I was not having anything to do with it.
Yeah, that section is incredibly difficult. When we get to that, we'll have to talk about that, because that I think it's fairly random. I don't think a pattern for it, so you just have to be really careful. But it's pretty easy to get, quickly killed there.
Yeah.
Here's the first setup for knocking a Bobo off a level. That one's fairly free, but here when we go down to the bridge, the character will have to be on the bottommost pixel in order to you can knock them off of this bridge. We'll see if I think got it right there.
Yeah, I'm not very good at positioning myself correctly for those quick kills on
yeah,
those guys.
these guys would normally take, I think, 3 combos each. The thing is, if you step 1 more pixel down, you're gonna fall off the level. So it is pretty precise. That was a really good job by Captain Duck. He got comboed once, but for the most part, that was really good. So
yeah, I see a lot of people for this next section actually doing it the normal
Yes.
way. I always try to position myself correctly with use of the ladder here to actually get that right pixel so you can knock all of these guys off as well.
yeah,
But during practice, I've seen a lot of people just going for the normal fighting ways actually here.
yeah. I mean, that's the big reason I was able to save a minute and a half off of the previous tasks. Is like this Abobo fight, the bridge, those different sections. The task didn't quick kill them and knock them off the bridge, so they didn't realize that you could do that. But I figured that out, and it's obviously saved a ton of time, which is good. Huge GG to Garbanzo guy. Everybody in chat, please give him a round of applause for finishing Dr. Wily's Revenge. That game is tough, and huge shout outs to him and Rave Tuba for plugging through it. It can be really frustrating when things aren't going your way, and to continue and beat it. Good job on both of them.
Yeah. So update on all the racers right now: Captain Duck and Double Dragon, Infinite Mystery and Adam's Family, Garbanzo and Penguin Wars. I chose the Penguin. Bad move. Reboot is in Fortified Zone. Rave Tuba and Penguin Wars, and Legs and Dr. Wily's Revenge.
Be fair, it is called Penguin Wars, not.
You fight a
Bat
penguin
Wars.
eventually.
Not Bat Wars.
Should be Bat Wars.
This section, if you want to do the optimal cycle for these platforms, it's really risky, like halfway through the run, because basically the amount that the screen scrolls to the right determines like where the platform is, and you can consistently do it, but it's really tight and kind of scary again because jumping is a pain. This boss also coming up is a pain because as you can see, the floor is disappearing on the left. Getting over this Abobo, like getting onto his right side, can be random. Good job, he got there. Sometimes he can just keep knocking you back and not let you get onto his right. I'm a little bit of trouble getting that first hit in.
He got him though. Yeah, that's the infamous Cave Abobo. In the original version, he's like the green one, the Hulk Abobo. But he definitely is a run killer for this game. I absolutely hate that fight.
Yeah, Cave Abobo is
the problem
worst.
is jumping over him to get to his right, like difficult, or not difficult, but he can just keep hitting you and knocking you back, and eventually if he does that enough, you lose the run because you fall off the level. So
Indeed.
here, these ladies, you can drop kick. One thing I noticed Captain Duck not doing as much is jump kicking, where you can push them back automatically. Now, it doesn't do as much damage as a full combo, but if you're just trying to knock somebody off the stage, it's the best way to go. This jump is really scary because these women appear right away to fight you, and if you get, if they catch you right as you land, then you get knocked off. You have to start the level over again. So that was a really good, platforming section for Captain
He's
Duck.
doing really amazingly well in Double Dragon.
Yeah, he is doing very well. Again, I was surprised everybody was so worried about Double Dragon. I don't think this run is anywhere near as difficult as Dr. Wily's Revenge, but the runners themselves in chat were saying they were worried about it, so it's hard to remove yourself when you've speedrun it before, but no. Dr. Wily clearly was the thing causing everybody trouble. We'll see if everybody can handle Double Dragon as well as Captain Duck is right now, because he's making it look easy.
Yeah, it was fun to put Dr. Wily's Revenge in this one for sure, because, again, it was a game that I wanted to put in before, but the difficulty of it kind of stopped me from doing that, especially because you really want to play through an entire Mega Man game. Just doing, 4 bosses or something is really not worth the time, in my opinion, so it was cool to actually be able to put this one in here. I'm not sure if 3, 4, or 5 will actually ever be in a Tiny 10, because those are all 40-minute games.
And they're
I don't think
3 is
it's
really
too
hard.
3 is
Yeah,
exceptionally
for
hard.
sure.
So Captain Duck opting to do these 2-hit combos instead of 4-hit combos. They do a lot less damage, but they free him up to not. Basically, if you're in the middle of the 4-hit combo and you get hit by the second brother or whatever these are, then you can start getting comboed a lot. Whereas if you do the 2-hit, there's a lot less time for them to gang up on you. And here we come on to the very difficult final stage. So he's opting not to knock these guys off. We'll see the section that EBC was talking about with the walls fighting you, but there's a lot to this stage, and obviously if you fall in the spikes, you die, so that's a bad thing. I'm gonna get to the right of all these enemies or to the bottommost pixel to knock them off the stage, but
Oh yeah, I forgot about the door that tries to suck you in.
yeah, so there's these doors
Yes.
that suck you in like a vacuum, and so you're trying to do these combos while fight these enemies, do these combos while that's happening. When you're doing a world record attempt, you're also trying to line yourself up to knock the enemies off the level at the same time. So it's Yeah, it's pretty tough section.
Little side note also on the R-Type game. If you people want to play the original arcade version of 1 and 2, at the moment on PS Plus for PS3 you can actually get R-Type Dimensions, which is R-Type 1 and 2 arcade game. You can play the original versions or even the like 3D remakes.
Here we are. The walls, they come out, I believe, at random.
Definitely
Knock you
random,
off.
yeah.
He has to start the whole level over again because of that. Surprised he. So that's his first death, which is really good. I'm surprised he Bobo rather than try and knock him off the level, which has a very simple setup because he took a lot of damage to a Bobo. One thing to also note is I was gonna say what happens if you lose all 3 of your lives? Do you still start at the beginning of the level?
You just game over.
To start the whole game again?
The whole game again.
Yep,
You
there's no updates.
Okay, that explains the concern everybody had. It's hard to remember that when you speedrun it, because you die once, you reset, you forget, like, you're actually gaming over. But yeah, he should lie. Oh, what I was gonna say is you'll notice when he's fighting a Bobo, if you lower your y-axis plane, like if you walk down or up towards him, it's a lot easier to get that first hit on him. If you're squared up kind of on the same plane for that first one, you can see that it's kind of like a coin toss whether you get the combo in or not. So yeah, as you can see, he was trying to move down and meet him in the middle. That makes it a lot easier to get that first hit in. He's always moving his Y position a little bit before.
Yeah, definitely.
A good bit. Electing again not to knock him off. We'll see how these treat him.
Yeah, the biggest thing I noticed about these
these are just random
walls is like again the screen starts scrolling when you start moving. What?
Oh, he was trying to line up for the final boss, and so the final boss is there. On that next screen he was on, he was trying to line up the bottom pixel so he could set that up, starting the whole level over again. This level is by far more difficult than the whole rest of the game combined, in my opinion, at least.
This level's the worst.
I mean, Game Bobo can be a bit of a pain, but like, I don't know, this level's like kind of the whole run, in my opinion, at this point. It's just...
what I was trying to say about that wall section is if you end up at the right side of the screen before the arrow appears and you go into the next section, it's more opportune to start moving immediately. Never stop, just keep moving through those moving wall sections, and that has given me the best way to get through them without getting hit once. So I don't know if it was RNG every time, but it seems like that is the best way to get through that section.
Yeah, I think that's what I did, and I never had as much issue as most people have as well, because that was completely RNG. I don't know that for sure. I mean, I would guess we would need to ask a task. Good.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but like it always works for me. So like, just don't stop and keep moving.
That's what I always did. I just got the Jimmy legs.
The Jimmy legs, huh?
Okay. I'm gonna line this up again.
Yeah, he's
correct.
Okay,
you got it.
So the final boss can basically one-hit kill you if you get into his fire range. So it is possible that Captain Duck will still die, but if he gets one combo in, the game is pretty much done.
I'm surprised he hasn't been doing the jump kicks more on those weaker enemies, because it's a lot quicker to knock them off. But here we go, final boss.
He got it. There goes Willy, not Wily. Willy.
See ya,
what a final boss! What a final boss!
Yeah, Captain Duck is doing amazing.
That was a really good. I mean, got a little scary at the end. Lost a good bit of time for the on that last stage, but the whole run, you know, before that he was deathless, so that was a really good.
Yeah. So here's
This game I've
Ninja
never
Spirit.
played. I enjoyed watching it. It reminds me of like Demon Sword for the NES. I want to hear about it.
Yeah,
I don't understand what's going on ever.
Irem has a great reputation of bringing games to Game Boy. Like we had the R-Type series, we got Hammer and Harry, we got what else do we have? We got
did not get
Dubao. Like Irem always makes very, very good Game Boy games. This one, no, they completely messed it up. This is a very, very good arcade game called also Ninja Spirit, but the port of this is just complete garbage. The way this game works is you have a bunch of weapons. You can see Captain Duck switching between some of them right now. And you have power-ups throughout the game, which you can pick up. One of them makes a clone. You can get 2 clones of yourself. And the other one power-ups your weapon. So what you want to do in the first stage is at least get 1 clone and get enough power-ups so you get the enhanced bomb, actually, for the first boss. He's just using the sword, which is perfectly fine to use. But for the speedrun, you would use the bomb because it does a little bit more damage. But this is basically the entire game.
Is it random whether you get the clone on the first level? Like, is it RNG?
No. It's always the same. You have 4 different types of power-up. You have an arrow pointing upwards, an arrow pointing downwards, the double orb thingy, and I think 1 more that gives you invincibility for a while. But yeah, in this game you have 3 lives, and you can take 5 hits each life. If you run out of all of those, you get a game over and you can like continue. But basically all you want is to take 3 hits during the entire game, which is a lot easier than it sounds, because this is a super short game. If you play this casually, you will beat it in 15 minutes.
Okay. Really good, huge giant boss sprite there. I think it's pretty cool. The one thing about this speedrun is I would say at least 30% of it is the boss is exploding. Like the final boss, it's like
takes
literally 40 seconds. I think, because I remember watching, I think, does Atros also have world record in this?
Yeah, indeed.
It's world record and everything. I remember seeing him, I knew what his time was from speedrun.com, and then I saw him hit the final boss, and I almost thought, maybe there's a second phase or another boss, because it's literally the whole last 40 seconds. The boss exploding.
Yeah, you can literally win this game. If you're playing it casually, just pick up whatever you see in front of you, jump and slash the entire game, and that's it. There's
Garbanzo having a question, Mo, here about fulfilling the requirements.
What did he do?
Continued on password?
Continued on I'm not really sure what.
I don't know if he's talking about Dr. Wily or Penguin Wars, but it looks like he's paused, waiting for an answer. So I would say continue, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening, but you can just continue, Garbanzo. It's okay.
There even I didn't know there was passwords in Penguin Wars.
No, me neither. Like, I'm not sure, but just go on. Just go on.
Well, I mean, I would think if it gives you if it's already entered in for you, then that's what people should be doing, I would think.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's not what, that isn't what Captain Duck did when he game over, but that doesn't mean that's not allowed. Oh, so he was starting over again because...
Oh, he meant Penguin Wars. If you beat all the guys, you can move on. It just loops the game afterwards. If you got the game congratulations screen, you're done.
Yeah, the game just loops after you beat the first loop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he didn't. Yeah. Move on. I thought he said password. The game doesn't end. The game doesn't end. It just loops over and over, I think.
Yeah, indeed.
Because they assume, why would you want to stop playing Penguin Wars just because you beat all the other Penguins? Like,
it does get harder in the second loop, though. But...
Yeah, it does.
We do not know. Like, Atros didn't decide to run in this year.
I have no
This
idea.
but we don't know Crazy. He's been a little bit MIA. He's probably just taking a break from speedrunning.
Maybe. Hopefully.
Sometimes we all need that.
If anybody knows Atros who's in the chat, like, let us know where he is or what's happening. But
So yeah, this game. What's the deal with like ninja games where you just like get clones of yourself, whether it be like
yeah.
Ninja Gaiden? I think Demon Sword has it. Like, is that like a thing? Is that like a myth about ninjas?
I don't know. Like, it appears in many of the games for sure. It's cool though. I mean, do double damage. But yeah, Ninja Spirit is definitely not one of the best games on Game Boy, but I decided to put it in because it's so easy to play through it.
It looks cool.
Unless you
I mean,
play
I don't
on
know.
arcade mode, which only gives you 1 life. But there's just not much to it.
See, with these balls that shoot out of your swords, they seem a bit overpowered.
Yeah, definitely.
At least on the bosses.
There's also a fun thing about this game. During the final boss, the game might softlock after he gets defeated. But like, if he gets destroyed and people happen to have the softlock where you can't do anything anymore, they can just move on because they really have defeated the boss. So.
The question Garbanzo had, I guess, is that he game overed against the rabbit, but then on the 5th match, but then he continued and faced the rabbit the first match. So like I guess he should have done the whole rest of the game again.
But I'm pretty sure you cannot continue in this game. I don't know, like...
You're Tiny 10 president and CEO.
Yeah,
so
I never seen you continue in that game, so yeah, I don't know what happened. Doesn't matter.
Clearly, Garbanzo's just cheating.
Yeah, we'll rewatch it if like, well, it really doesn't matter. This is all just for fun and games. So,
is he fighting a kanji?
He's fighting a kite with 5 ninjas
on it.
Yeah.
Be way more discreet for the ninjas to ride on if it didn't have a giant kanji on it. I'm just gonna say that. Like, if I'm a ninja trying to sneak in on a giant kite, I'm probably not riding a giant kanji on it.
Yeah, it's a weird game, but again, if you really want to play a good version of this game, just check out the arcade version, which is actually a really, really good game.
Is this based on a true story, or?
Maybe. If Zook is around, he could probably collaborate on that. But...
This is based on my life.
Oh, Garbanzo fighting a boss without the force. It's weird to see somebody actually shoot the weak spot.
Well, kites come back in this level too, huh?
Yeah, they're
stick.
Little guys.
What if the kanji means sneaky? That's a good question. I don't know. I like that enemy sprite. It's a strange one. There's like some standard enemies that look like that, and this boss for some reason just keeps disappearing. I don't really understand this game. Like, where is your hitbox? It feels like you're never getting hit. And
well,
like,
he's using his
all these
clones in
circles
front
of
of him,
damage.
so the boss is not actually hitting him, but trying to slash the clones. So.
Yeah, this is a weird game.
It is.
Yeah, I was watching this yesterday and just confused by why it seemed like you never take any damage, but like it's hard to know which one you are and which one the clone is from watching. They're all like flickering.
So Mo, why did you choose Ninja Spirit and not like Alien 3?
Well, we already had a lot of like games where you really had to practice or know the routes, and I was just looking for a final one, a very short one, especially because this Tiny 10 also has Super Mario Land and Dr. Wily's Revenge, which are a lot longer games, so I needed a short one, and I needed something that people actually could learn in like literally playing it 2 times, which is what Ninja Spirit is. Unless you want a world record time, then there's a lot of movement involved in it and such. But like, literally, if you play through this game once, you've learned the speedrun. So,
all right. Let me ask you this then.
conversation, my phone just alerted me from Netflix that its top pick for me is Stranger Things, even though I've watched through it all twice on Netflix. I just think that's an interesting.
So, why Ninja Spirit and not Shaq Fu?
Because nobody likes Shaq Fu.
Fighting games, speedrunning Game Boy fighting games. Whew. That's when you know you're a degenerate. That's when you
has been
know.
in 3 marathons this year. I want you to know that.
That's true. Yeah.
Baby's Kids has been in 2, so can't really.
Yeah, Alien 3 might show up in a later one for sure, because
Fun game.
It is a fun game.
that we can definitely do.
But
The
definitely
best-
not
best
a good
LJN
blind
game.
game.
No, not a good blind game. Hard blind game.
Very hard blind.
So we've got Captain Duck going into the last game now, Super Mario Land 2, having taken the lead from Rave Tuba during Dr. Wily's Revenge and holding it since then. Doing a really good job. I think, especially with his double dragging performance, probably going to win this, barring any crazy incident. We've got Rave Tuba in second, doing a double dragon, about 2/3 of the way through that. We've got Garbanzo guy on R-Type and Sprinting Legs on the end of Dr. Wily's Revenge. And then I don't know where Infinite and the other runner is. If you want to update us, EBC.
What do you want to know?
What are the other 2 runners at?
I was reading chat. Let's see. Captain Duck, obviously, in Super Mario. Infinite Mystery.
Well, I went through them. I just mean the ones we can't see.
Infinite Mystery and Fortified Zone. Reboot
Okay.
and Fortified Zone.
Oh, okay. Cool. So they're moving along as well. Yeah, so Captain Duck's got a sizable lead. Nobody on the same game on the screen right now. Which could be confusing for people who are coming in to Speed Gaming channel. You know, it's a big channel, and they just see 4 people playing 4 different Game Boy games. What this is it's like the Big 20, but 10 Game Boy games, so it's a multi-game Game Boy race. So that's why they're all currently on different games. But got Captain Duck pretty sizably in the lead starting out. SML2. How long do we expect for SML2 for these kind of runners?
I would say 35 minutes, something like that.
Shoutouts to Odeer in the chat. Super Mario Land
so you're
2.
the world record holder for this game.
Definitely follow him if you want to see this game done very quickly. He's got the world record at 26 minutes and 28 seconds.
We mean like I said before, most people did not spend any time with Super Mario Land 2 trying to actually learn the speed run.
I meant non-world record level speedrunners of the game. I didn't mean anything insulting, but I just, you expect a few minutes for like a 15-minute long run. So for something that's 30 minutes, I think like 45 minutes is kind of what we're looking for, I would think. The good thing with Mario Land 2 is I don't think it's, your deaths can be punishing, but nothing like some of the games we played previously. So unless Captain Duck
the only thing
really
about
stuck somewhere, he's
is
won.
that if you game over, you actually lose one of the boss coins if you defeated them.
That's right.
A way to go around that is actually to soft reset before that happens, but I'm not sure if they're well known enough with the game to do that. But
You get quite a number of lives though through the game, so Duck honestly could probably even afford losing a boss.
you
and
lose all of your
still
boss
win
coins.
this.
I thought it was only one.
Oh, you lose all of them.
I thought it was one actually.
But you don't have to replay the levels from what I remember. You just have to go back to the boss.
do the
levels.
boss, yeah, for sure.
So I think he could afford that, honestly, and still that would definitely lose a lot of time, but considering his lead right now.
What's your guys' favorite boss in Super Mario Land 2?
The death on the caves and is down to his last life, which is
Rough.
that's going to be pretty risky when you consider the last level. I don't know like halfway, 2/3 way point, I don't know if it'd be worth just resetting or if he should. I don't think you get extra lives from like anything in this game. So
yeah, you get 1 for the score, but he already had that. So.
That's gonna be. I honestly think, with how easy the first few levels are comparatively, it might be a good idea for him to die intentionally here or reset. But we will see what happens there. EBC, I just want to point that out. You're asking what our favorite bosses are of SML2. I like Tatanga.
Tatanga.
Probably my favorite. Or is it Tatanga or something?
It is
right?
Tatanga,
Yeah, which is the final boss of SML1.
Yeah.
Yep.
Didn't get much more attention in the Mario universe. What about you, EBC?
I think my favorite is the 3 pigs.
3 pigs are good. Mo doesn't like anything, so. Yeah, I'm surprised we've had enough games that you both could speak about positively, since neither of you actually like video games. It's been pretty surprising.
I don't like Super Mario Land 2.
That's true. You don't like this game. You're so weird.
I do not like this game at all.
Dumbest thing I've ever heard. This game's so
Wow.
good. And think about all the dumb things I've said in my life, and I'm saying I think what you just said is
used
dumber.
to poop on Alien 3 until you actually played it. And now you
Okay, game. It's no SML2, I'll tell you that much.
That's better.
Oh boy.
Crazy.
Rave Tuba, sadly game overing against Gava Bobo.
Honestly, that's probably a blessing because
Yeah, better
At the same
than in
time,
the final level.
odds of getting through that last stage with the spikes and with the wall and not dying probably could have lost several more minutes. It's gonna give Garbanzo a little bit of time to catch up. Although we still don't even know if Garbanzo beat Penguin Wars, really.
That's true.
we all missed whatever happened there, but
Nobody ever pays attention to Penguin Wars. Poor game.
Well, maybe if you played it to bat.
Yeah.
SML2, the final stage, the final castle is you're not familiar with
best
it,
level.
that's going to be the struggle. But hopefully everybody has played it enough for this. People have been warned that this is the tougher Tiny 10 that we've done, so
Yeah, most definitely
people are aware.
the toughest so far.
I think if I were to pass by a hippo statue and were to shoot a bubble out of it, I would not jump into the bubble. Saying. Very different response.
How else are you gonna get into space?
I don't know. I'd probably not do any of what he's doing.
Rocket ship didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
Hero, I guess.
Has any Tiny 10 taken
For the winner? Probably not.
I don't think so. No,
I
it's
don't remember.
always under 3 hours for sure. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was up 2 hours last time.
Sprinting Legs going for that extra life, missing it, and I thought was going to hit the spikes, but saved themselves. Mario is a guy that eats random hallucinogenic fungus that he finds lying around.
Aces knows what's up.
Good point. Here we got the boss refights, which again, I didn't think were going to be the tough part of Dr. Wily's Revenge, but definitely have shown to be
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
Except maybe Captain Doc. So
Yeah,
this
this
is a
might
big
be
part
the
of the reason
first
Rave 2 by
time.
Garbanzo guy lost maybe 15 minutes.
This
He'll
definitely might be the first time. If
He'll
Aetros
need
was
it.
here, he would have definitely gone for that sub 2 hour time, but sadly he wasn't able to join.
Atros?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if sub 2 hours is that possible? I mean, I guess
Yeah,
like,
for
what's
sure.
the combined world records for perspective?
It's 1 hour and 54 minutes.
It'd be pretty tough, especially with
Sure,
games.
but
I mean, you're also counting games. You're also talking about game switching and stuff. You know, although he uses emulator, so that doesn't take quite as long. But
Mhm, mhm.
I guess there's an echo in somebody's.
Well, it can't be mine because I don't have any sound on anywhere.
What? Mute the game.
Garbanzo going... I think he's not familiar with R-Type at all, which definitely will cause a problem in the next game, next stage.
Oh, absolutely. Oh no. Well, B Jonas, I'm just saying in terms of loading screens and stuff as well. When you consider world record, it's usually from like start to end, and not necessarily loading screens and swapping carts or. I mean, it can add a few minutes. It would be real. Sub 2 hours would be a very impressive time. I mean, that would be.
Definitely.
But I think like a sub 210 would be definitely achievable with a really solid set of runs.
Yeah, I'm really wondering. Garbanzo knows how to get through stage 4 here or not.
Might not be good. Might give sprinting legs a chance to.
Yeah, maybe. Definitely because he also seemed to have picked up more than 2 speed ups for his ship, which makes it incredibly hard to move around.
Which is probably something I did casually because
you only pick
faster.
up 1 normally, or 2. Now I don't even remember myself.
Ironic that picking up speed ups in a speedrun is not fast.
Well, that's always like that with shmups though. Like, if you know how to control your ship well enough, you can go for the highest speed up, but I would never recommend that actually. Captain Duck done with 2 stages so far. 2 worlds, I should say. I always hated the Tatanga fight in Super Mario Land 2.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating trying to get above him to do damage for sure.
I always thought Macro Zone was kind of a unique stage.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of like a SMB3's zone where everything is big.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a cool idea, I think. Weird. Here's the thing, though. I mean, I think this has become more popular. I've advocated this for a long time, that Mario's the bad guy. And I think Odyssey's helped support that, maybe. But, like, this land that he lives in has a giant statue of him. That's super weird. And then everything in the world is trying to kill him. So it's like, I think he's a dictator. Personally.
Probably is, yeah. Like,
who builds a giant statue of themselves, And nobody seems to like him. Nobody's going to Mario's side.
Game Theory if you want to hear more about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely a possibility. Like, Wario has always been my favorite character. I think he's the most honest person in the entire, Mario lore, I guess. He's like, yo, I want treasure, I will get treasure, and that's all he cares about.
My favorite Mario character is now a giant meme.
Waluigi.
Yeah.
Waluigi.
You would be a Waluigi fan.
I don't know, I think Wario has had the most fun games in the entire franchise.
I agree.
No, I haven't gotten into the Wario Land games yet. I really need to try them out. The only one I've played is SML3, which is a great game. I really like that one quite a bit.
Yeah,
but I haven't played that. I don't consider that quite as much a Wario game. Like I've watched a lot of the Wario Land games, like 2, 3, and 4, and they have like a kind of different feel to them entirely to SML3.
For sure.
Like SML3 feels like a Mario game where you're playing as Wario, and the later Wario Land games kind of are their own, thing. So Garbanzo guy at the boss though, so that's good. Just died in the
that sucks.
It's my fault, fam. I'm sorry.
Oh, so you do continue from the checkpoints when you game over in R-Type? That's at least good.
Yeah, it's good, but it can also be not good because that's less power-ups you can pick up. Depends how many power-ups.
Yeah, for sure.
If
but
he's gonna get
in this level,
power-ups.
it doesn't really matter much because
As long as you can get the Force, I think you're good
Yeah.
to go.
it's only in stage 4 that it comes into play. That if you don't have the Force, you will either have to do enough damage on the boss whenever he appears, or just wait for that moment that he just gives up and leaves the screen forever.
For Rave Tuba is that this time in the cave stage also really good. Oh,
Damn, Bobo.
got to the left,
Oh.
the right.
There
That
he
was a
goes.
good-
Yeah.
This time having 3 lives through the cave stage instead of being on his last. So, to be able to finish as long as the last level goes okay.
There is indeed a game list. I think there's a Tiny 10 command in chat you can pull up,
Yes.
which shows the list of the Tiny 10 6 games. If you want to check out the game list for the previous editions, that's also available on the website. Just I think there's just a link for 1 through 5, so you can always check out the entire list of games that have been featured in the Tiny 10 races. Again, if you want to start speedrunning Game Boy games, there's a lot of information on the website to get you started. There's a few tutorials. Whenever there's one out there, I always post it, which you can check out. So.
Yeah, I think a big reason why a lot of people maybe are apprehensive to speedrun Game Boy games is the barrier of like, how do I do it? We have a lot of help on GB Runners for that. Specifically, like, what hardware do I need? Like, it's confusing. Like, do I use Super Game Boy 1? Do I use Super Game Boy 2? Or what kind of things can I do to capture Game Boy? What emulators can I use? So that stuff's on there. I'd recommend just trying it. It's not, you only really need a Super Game Boy 2 or an emulator. It's not, the barrier in entry is not maybe as intimidating as people might see it. And I definitely recommend diving in if you like it. The Game Boy library is really diverse. A lot of really great games. And a lot of games that haven't been speedrun, a lot of games that are really optimized. You got a whole, a whole gamut of speedrun types. So
Yeah, usually we announce the
world.
games like a month and a half or 2 months in advance. This time I just wanted to give people enough time to learn the games because it's all full games and some of them are pretty tough to actually learn to get a good time in. So this time it was 3 months. I don't know. I still have no idea what happened this time around that we have so few runners actually doing it. So
yeah, last
we'll
time we
have
had
to think
16 or
about it.
18. So
Yeah,
I'm not
I'm not sure what happened. So, if you people have any comments about this, like not only the actual runners, but people who knew about the race and have like a reason why they did not join, or people watching right now, if you have any comments or suggestions, you can always contact me through Twitch, or you can contact me on Twitter, which is @Nostalgamia. I really wanna hear what happened this time around. That there's so few people. So
yeah, we definitely want to
can-
keep growing the event for sure. And huge shout outs to Mo for organizing this, twice a year, I guess. Is it twice a year?
I think so. I'm actually not sure anymore because this is the 6th edition, and I think I only started when I was starting my Game Boy System challenge. So I don't know. Maybe it is. It has been 3 years, but yeah, usually there's definitely 2 a year.
Yeah, so
one
every few
during
months, Mo does a
fall
lot
and
of work
one
for
during
this.
spring.
Yeah, Mo does a lot of work for this. Give him a follow. He's a great Game Boy streamer who also does some speed running, such as our type. Definitely thanks to him for making this event possible every few months. Say that Captain Duck is in my favorite world right now, the horror world.
The horror world.
I like horror themed games. It's cool to see Mario in kind of like a horror setting. I feel like this was the first time I guess the ghost houses. There's some ghosts in the castles in games before this, but this is kind of the first. Was kind
the
of
real take on horror. Yeah.
A lot of enemies you won't see ever again in this game, like the Jason masks walking around.
Yeah. Again, if you want to see more Game Boy content, it's not only me doing this. We do have a team set up with a lot of great streamers who actually try to do as much Game Boy as they can. It's not 100% Game Boy, but we do try to do most Game Boy things. So if you want to check those out, go to twitch.tv/Monochrome City. I think that's the link, right? Or is it
however you go to
team/Monochrome
teams,
City?
I think. Yeah, you can also go to you can also subscribe to the Game Boy community.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you're ever playing a Game Boy game casually or speedrunning it, feel free to choose the Game Boy community. It's a community I started just for Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy Color, because there was really no like central community for that. So you can go to communities or twitch.tv/community/Game Boy, and you can sometimes usually find a runner that's running Game Boy, but we hope to get more people using that just because I think there's a lot of people streaming Game Boy that don't use that, and cool to kind of centralize that for people to be able to see.
Yeah, I'm gonna see, but is Hero still around? Grannon Hero, maybe you can post the link to the community because you're actually the person who made.
I can grab them.
Yeah, and again,
communities
also,
is mine, and the team is his.
Oh, the chat. I think he was talking about the community, like the community and the team. I was talking about the team. John Carlos was talking about it.
Oh, okay. That's the team.
And also, another huge shout outs to Man Over Mars, who's also part of the Monochrome City community, who made the Twitch skin for this Tiny Tim, and who also made like the little banner thing you've seen on Twitter. So, he's a great artist. He also made a lot of our emotes. He's great. Contact him if you need anything.
Yeah, he's actually put a decent bit of time into Dr. Wily's Revenge as kind of like his main speed game as well, which is cool. It's been really cool to see that game get a resurgence, specifically just because Mega Man Game Boy games are generally not speedrun that much or by that many people. Even though the Game Boy, even though Mega Man community is pretty large, so it's cool to see like people like Endy and people moving over from other communities like the NES community and speedrunning it.
Yeah, it's nice to see them taking their steps into the Game Boy Mega Man games, especially because they're so familiar with the mechanics of the NES games. And a lot of people who run the Game Boy variety of Mega Man games can learn a lot about, things we cannot come up with ourselves, because I was a Wily's Revenge speedrunner as well in the past. They just have a different mindset when it comes to those games, and they can come up with strategies that we maybe not would be able to come up with. So that's cool to see.
So just as an update, for anybody new to this is a 10-game Game Boy race. Right now, Captain Duck is in the lead for in the last game, Super Mario Land 2. In second right now, we have Rave Tuba, who is in Ninja Spirit, the 9th game. Garbanzo Guy is just starting out Double Dragon, which is the 8th game. And we've got Sprinting Legs finishing off Dr. Wily's Revenge here, and 4th. We also have 2 other runners running right now. That's Infinite Mystery, and I keep forgetting the last one.
The last Persian. I don't know if he's Persian, but the last person running is Reboot TV.
Reboot is Uncut Man.
Please all consider following these runners. We're really happy for them to participate, and we'd love to see more people show up next time and do this. It's a really fun event, and I've run in 2 of them. I know EBC's run in a bunch of them. And, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to learn a bunch of new games that you wouldn't, and really helps the Game Boy community by getting speedruns for games that didn't really previously have them or weren't as optimized. This one specifically, we've gotten Double Dragon improved by almost a minute from my time to Atroz's because of this. Penguin Wars got its first runs. Dr. Wily's Revenge has gotten really big in general, not just because of this, but stuff like Addams Family getting a bunch of speed runs, Ninja Spirit getting a bunch of speed runs that they normally wouldn't have had. So it's really cool to have these additions to our speedruns, and this happens anytime these events happen, whether it's big 20 or this. It's cool to see some like neglected games get some attention.
That's always been the main focus of these things, is not only to get people familiar with the Game Boy library in general, because it's still actually like a very avoided system nowadays. So it's always nice for people to see some games they would never heard of before, and it's also nice to either create or revive some of the speedrun communities for some of the games, so that actually people are putting time into them, coming up with new strategies, so we can see some very cool new speedruns. So yeah, that's definitely always been the focus of these Tiny 10 things.
For sure. Yeah, it's I think a lot of people who are speedrunning fans who watch different speedrunnings that come to speed gaming and watch these tournaments are probably just mostly familiar with Pokemon and some of the Mario games for Game Boy and maybe Kirby's Dream Land, but don't get to see a lot of these other platformers, even the Mega Man games, or stuff like R-Type, Ninja Spirit. So it's really cool to kind of expose you guys to that. Just know there's a lot of Game Boy games. I mean, there's, if you count Japanese and PAL releases, there's a little under 1,000, and that's I think, and that's there's a lot of really interesting and cool speed runs that you probably haven't heard of, that maybe you only see a couple of at like a GDQ or something. So I definitely recommend the Game Boy library. I love it.
Yeah, between America and Europe, there's 581 unique titles.
Yeah, something like that. Plus all the Japanese ones. There's a lot of Japanese ones that are basically rubbish, like the horse betting games and stuff like that.
How dare you?
Derby Stallion.
But they really have a lot of fun set of Japanese games. A lot of that which got actually portrayed in the Tiny 10 games. I always try to put some Japanese only games in there.
Yeah, that's cool, because I specifically am trying to beat every US game, and I own every US game, but I don't know the Japanese library very well at all. And there's definitely hundreds of games on the Japanese library. Stuff like Ninja Spirit that I've never seen. It's cool to see that. I like this game. It looks cool to me. I mean, I guess it's bad.
Yeah,
but,
it's at least a playable game. There's like a lot of those Japanese games that are really complete garbage that they just put out to put it out there. But
the beginning of shovelware.
Yeah, kinda. You could see it like that. And also just some really poorly done ports of other games that have existed on other systems before, so...
I think the question we all want to know, when are you adding Fromer's Travel Guide to Tiny 10?
Please do it.
No way.
Or Berlit's Spanish translator. That's what I'm ready for.
Yeah, or King James Bible.
Oh my god, do that too. I've played that.
Yeah,
But,
definitely
yeah,
enough. 'Cause I'd say there's been licensed kind of garbage for a long time. I feel like once like Game Boy Color GBA started coming out, that's when we really started getting a lot more of it, though. And then like the DS and the Wii, oh my gosh,
Yeah, those were the worst times for sure.
that's when you're like every Disney Channel show has like 8 games.
Mary-Kate and Ashley, spending spree. Mary-Kate and
Yeah,
Ashley
well,
goes to the mall.
even the Mary-Kate and Ashley... Ashley? Is it Ashley?
It's
Yeah.
actually
Okay. Mary-Kate and Ashley game on Game Boy, the actual Game Boy game, is actually still pretty good compared to all the other trash that got released.
yeah, it's like a puzzle platformer or something.
Yeah.
Mary-Kate and Ashley walk their dog. It's a pretty good game too.
It's been in a Tiny 10. That's a good question. Has it?
No.
Bubble Ghost was. Wasn't
We
it?
gotta add.
Bubble Ghost, yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was like,
Bubble
yeah.
Ghost was in the very first one, I believe.
No, Barbie Game Girl's the best Game Boy game. I think that's pretty objective. Barbie Game Girl, probably the biggest community of any of these games. Let me
It has a lot of
like
runners.
outside
that's
of
for sure.
Too
half as
many.
many runners as have run SML2 glitchless, so that's interesting, right?
Barbie Game Girl was in the last Tiny 10, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
It had I think it has like 21 or 22 submissions right now. Not enough, in my opinion. My goal is to get Barbie Game Girl to have 100 runners one day.
I don't even
That's
know
my
if I
goal
have
in
the time put up there for Barbie
Well,
Game
I
Girl.
need you to. We need to get everybody running Barbie Game Girl. Everybody go download on your emulator, put up a 15-minute time, and just post it. I want it to have more runs than Super Mario Odyssey. I'm ready.
More runs than Kirby's Dream Land.
I don't think that's ever gonna happen. So
That'd be a tough one.
yeah.
Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen Sweet 16 License to Drive. That sounds amazing.
That sounds like a good game. I'd play
That
it.
sounds like a speedrun waiting to happen.
I mean, I played Barbie Magic of Pegasus. I'd probably play that.
That's a good game. Used to our streamer who was actively going through all the GBA games, and they just kind of disappeared. But they did a full Barbie day. They did all 8 Barbie games,
right.
and it was awesome. It was like, I'm gonna beat all 8 Barbie Game Boy Advance games right now and get them out of the way. It was great. One of my favorite streams I've watched in some time.
All right, Captain Duck going into Wario's castle.
Donkey Kong is a very good speed run and good game that we could add, but it's fairly long. I mean, it's like 100 levels.
It is long, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Oh,
been the
you had
problem.
it. You did have
Donkey
it.
Kong
You did
95 and
partial.
Tiny 10 number 2. It was the first game of the list.
94, that is.
Whatever.
Let's not speak about that game ever again.
It's an easy game to set a shorter goal on, though, too.
Yeah,
levels.
for sure.
Yeah, I think ours was like Beat World 2 or something like that.
Captain Duck going into Wario's castle. Spoiler, sorry, it's Wario. But this is the toughest part of the game, casually at least, for sure.
I don't know. I really do not have any problems with this stage, so...
A lot of people do, though.
I
know it took me
I never had an issue with
me
this
a bit.
stage at all.
I think I had a little bit of issues with this, but I grew up with this game, so too bad. But I know a lot of people do really, especially this section right here with the lava.
If Oh Dear is still in chat, he knows I didn't have any problems with this castle.
No. Yeah, it was one of the few streams I was able to catch of you. You were raging so much.
Now,
It was so good.
one thing, and it looks like Captain Duck is doing this strat. There's a strat where you can see a counter there for the number of enemies you've killed. If that hits 100, you automatically get a star, and so they have set their kill count up to this point so precisely that they're going to get that for killing a boss. These 2 fireballs coming up really quickly. That's very impressive, to be honest, to be on the kill count. That's fairly.
I'm not sure if he did it on purpose or not, actually. But
I mean, I would think so. Has Captain Duck died yet? I mean,
I don't know.
He's taken death earlier in the game.
Yeah, I mean, he is, especially his end game here. So here, this kill will be his 100th, and then he'll get that star because of that. Now he'll be able to kill the 2 sun. I mean, it doesn't save. It saves a lot of time in terms of the speed run. Like record attempt probably saves, like, I don't know. ODR can comment like 20 seconds or something, but you know, for this, not as big of a deal. He's like 30 minutes ahead a second, but still really cool to see him be on pace, be able to handle that. That's shows that he definitely put a lot of time into this run.
Like, Captain Duck has been around since
it only saves 3 seconds. Okay, not even close to 20. So there's like a 3-second time save in a 3-hour run isn't that big of a deal, but it's just that shows the level of preparation they've done to even that. That's impressive. Getting these quick kills.
Captain Duck has been around since the second Tiny 10, I think, so he's been... Yeah, it's amazing seeing that he did so much work for this one this time around. It's really cool.
He's
done. He's done. He's done.
And
Congratulations,
Captain Duck. Captain Duck wins with the sub 3 or no?
His first win.
I'm on delay. It's gonna be like 59 something, right?
Yeah, it's 2 hours, 59 minutes, and 39 seconds on SRL. So a little bit before that. So yeah, he got a sub 3 hours. Congratulations.
We still have never had a Tiny 10 win that was above 3 hours. So that's good. Good job to Captain Duck. Huge shout outs to him. Are we gonna try and have him hop in the call, or?
You can do that. Yeah, I do have to go to the bathroom, so you can chime him in, but I would have to be around for that. No, wait, let me
go. We can ask him.
Let me give him the rights at least. Oh, he can. Yeah, he can go.
Okay, he doesn't have time. Okay. Very impressive.
I got banned again.
About halfway through this race, if people aren't in it, Captain Duck was, I think, in 3rd behind Garbanzo Guy and Rave Tuba until Dr. Wily's Revenge, and then was able to come back to win it. So really good job by Captain there. I'm gonna go ahead and add one of the other runners on here. B Jonas, we already commented on that. Burning Legs knows this game.
She should know this game. So I don't know, like she can always contact me on Discord if there's a problem or something.
Even speed ran the post race interview. Yeah. So now we've got Rave Tuba going into the final game, SML2. We got Garbanzo Guy still on Double Dragon, and now we have Sprinting Legs and Reboot all on Dr. Wily's Revenge. And what game's Infinite on? He's on Dr. Wily now too, right? Or is he on
Fortified?
Okay.
But Rave Tube, I believe, is like a top 5 or a top 10 runner of Super Mario Land 2. So
wow,
he knows what he's doing.
Rave 2 was 9th with a 26:57, so very good time. You know, that's 29 seconds off world record. Oh. Rave Tuba should be taking 2nd unless something incredibly crazy happens with the top 9 time in this game and being, 20 minutes ahead. Definitely Dr. Wily's Revenge being the hardest game, it seems, for everybody to get through this. Causing a lot of trouble. Double Dragon really not causing as much trouble as it seems like the runners were worried about or concerned about. They're all handling it fairly easily. Once again, that I'm always right is kind of...
Yeah.
But specifically this last section of Doctor... I mean, I always think of Cutman as being the toughest part, but the refights and the castle being really tough. Quickman is really difficult. I mean, can you use Flash against...
You can, yeah, but it's faster to use fire.
Keep having to game over here. I would recommend Sprinting Legs use Flash at this point. You know, because everybody's been dying there a lot and not using Flash, which is kind of...
Yeah, I think at this point in the marathon, I would just opt to go kill Flashman first and then use Flash against Quick.
Oh yeah, you have to kill Flashman first.
I mean, Flash is an easy fight at least.
Oh, I didn't get to see. Did Rave Tuba get the skip? I'm sure.
Yeah, it looks like it.
There's a big section you can skip in that stage where you float. If you mash just properly, you're able to kind of sequence break and skip a whole platforming section. Saves a decent chunk of time. Garbanzo guys restarting Double Dragon. Unfortunately, start back from the beginning.
Yeah, I would have thought that Double Dragon would have given people more grief than Mega Man.
They've been the challenge for everybody but Captain Duck, honestly. For the difference. But yeah, it seems like everybody was worried about Double Dragon, maybe put more time into it. And maybe wasn't as worried about Mega Man Reboot TV getting a game over there on Iceman stage. Sure, it might still, though we have only had 2 people get through Double Dragon. And Rape Tuba did game over, and same with Garbanzo Guy. I just think time-wise, it's so much of a shorter game and easier game overall than, this last stage. Just really giving people issues, honestly. I don't think anybody really struggled, other than RaveTube. I don't think anybody really struggled with much of gaming over in the earlier stages that I saw, but a lot of reboots play through. So, but this final stage just and the refights just really causing issues for almost all of the runners. Platinum Edition or whatever we named it.
I would have never thought that the refights would have been the spot where people got stuck.
Yeah, I think also people not realizing they could do Flash first and fight quick is probably really affecting people. I would have recommended that safe strat with the amount that people are struggling here. Captain Duck, congratulations! Everybody give a GG to Captain Duck.
Definitely. I'm not sure, but this might be the second time he
said he'll chat in a little bit. He just wants to chill for.
All right, that's cool. Lex seems to be having some trouble with Anchor. She does still have 2 lives left, so maybe this will be it. Can finally move on. Oh.
That is the nice thing about the Mega Man games. Like, once you've passed a level, like, you don't do that level ever again. Unless you accidentally click on select stage in the Wily stages.
Yeah, that's never a good idea. You do have to redo both of them if you happen to do that during the second one, so... Yeah, still having some trouble with Anchor, apparently. He can be really tough, for sure.
Looks like she's getting the hang of it now.
Yeah. One more hit. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we usually take this stream as far as the top 3 at least. I'm not entirely sure how much time we actually do have left. I know there was like nothing coming right after us, so we'll see. I'm sure Fiesel will let us know if it's time for us to stop for the day.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there was like a rando or anything after us.
Not immediately, but I'm not sure if like maybe we have an hour or half an hour. So.
Oh, Sprinting Legs making it past Dr. Wily 1. Congrats to that. Getting a little progress there.
Just gotta hope she doesn't press stage select if she game overs and Wily didn't.
We ourselves will not continue on another channel, but we will probably be around watching the other people continue for sure.
I'll be in Discord and multi-Twitch and stuff.
Yeah, you can watch the other runners on their channels as well.
I could make a Khadgar link, I guess.
There is a Pokemon Crystal Bingo in 10 minutes.
I don't even know what is a Pokemon Crystal Bingo.
Bingo is like where you have to do specific objectives to get bingo.
Why is there not a Kirby's Dream Land Bingo?
No, because you didn't organize it.
I don't even know how I'd organize it. Killed 13 Waddle Dees.
Yeah, stuff like that for sure.
Be more like, get this badge, beat this boss. I don't know if Kirby's Dream Land would really be a very good bingo. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow. I want a Kirby's Dream Land randomizer.
Yeah, if you want to watch Tiny 10 for as long as possible, Infinite Mystery usually goes blind and goes for like 24 hours.
Yeah.
I've never seen somebody do more 24-hour streams than him. That's like a normal stream for him. Like, people do 24-hour specials, and that's just called Infinite Mystery Stream.
I'm sure one of the other speed gaming channels would be open, but we usually get really tired after 3 or 4 hours of this, so
3 hours of commentating.
There's not that much more we can say about the games that we already did, so we always try to wrap it up at least.
Speedrunning 8 the Ocho. We're getting to that point. Fiesel's going to be president of Twitch soon. Take over everything. I am once apologized when his stream had to end after 10 hours.
Yeah, that sounds like him for sure.
Stream like 6 to 10 hours when I stream, and that's really long. Like, I see people stream for like hour and a half, 2 hours and cut. To me, that's strange. But like for Infinite, it's a whole nother level. It's just like, and he will do the whole like, I'll do the whole Big 20 blind and over like 48 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
Did Captain Duck just join?
Yeah.
Hey, Captain Duck! Congratulations!
Thank you.
Congrats, man.
Yeah.
This is the second time you win, right? Or
Yeah.
am I wrong? Yeah.
Second
Okay.
night, and nice. The Atos didn't show up, so I had a chance. So
That does help. That helps quite a bit. The
Yeah.
only other 2-time winner, so look at you guys.
Yeah. Wow. This Tiny 10 history. Nice.
You go in the record book. So how do you feel about your runs?
Yeah, it went well. It started horrible with Wario Land. Like, it went pretty bad, but afterwards it went okay, and Mega Man was really nice on me. I got all the health drops for some reason. And it just blazed through that. And apparently everyone had problems with that.
So everybody has had problems with Dr. Wily, but you.
Okay.
Like that's the reason. That's definitely, I would say, the key reason you won. What do you think? Like, how much were you keeping track with where the other racers were at versus like just focusing on your own runs? Like, were you aware of where you were in comparison, or?
Yeah, I had the Restream open in a tiny little window on the side, so I saw where people were. And then I finished Mega Man. I noticed, hey, the others haven't finished that yet.
Yeah, we
So
didn't have you on until about halfway through Mega Man.
Yeah.
But basically, when Mega Man started, I believe you were in third behind Rave Tuba and Garbanzo Guy.
Yeah.
And by the time that was, they were done with that, you were 2 games past it. So it was a huge amount of time, probably like 30 minutes plus, that you made up on them through that game. And then, honestly, after that point, you really cruised to it. I mean, Double Dragon was almost no issue to you.
Yeah.
Really good job.
Penguin Wars gave me some issues, but I got through it.
Yeah, Penguin
fast
Wars
enough.
was a lot longer than I expected from you, but everything else,
Yeah, that worked.
You chose the bat.
Mhm.
You chose the good character.
Made
No.
BBC very happy.
Okay, yeah. I saw the bat being used in the speedrun, so I used the bat. I'm not really sure if there's any difference between the characters, but...
I don't think there is.
There isn't at all.
okay, there isn't. Okay. That's why I chose it. But, oh man.
You what game did you invest the most time into practicing beforehand?
Double Dragon, yeah.
Really? See, that's the funny thing, is everybody was so concerned about Double Dragon. I think I would have thought going in and said, at the beginning of this, Dr. Wily's Revenge is going to be one of the big reasons people lose time. And I think a lot of people, the runners, were more worried about Double Dragon, which up to this point hasn't really cost people as much time.
Yeah, it's... I'm horrible at beat 'em ups, so I really focused on that, and I have Mega Man on card, so I know the game.
Yeah.
And I just did a couple of runs and trained it, and yeah, it worked well enough. And yeah, then the game was so nice with me with all the health drops. Like I
think
so
we
many
all
health
knew
drops.
once you were done with Double Dragon that you were gonna win. What was your least favorite game to play or prepare for?
Still Double Dragon.
Okay.
I really am not good at beat 'em ups.
What
Like, I
about
didn't go
second
to
least favorite? Since everybody seems to hate Double Dragon.
Yeah.
Just-
Second least favorites. Ninja Spirit. No, Ninja Spirit's fine. Penguin Wars was really annoying. Maybe
Yeah.
that's
It is frustrating when you get stun locked in Penguin Wars.
yeah. What else was in there? Fortified Zone. Well, you could cheese Fortified Zone, so that's fine.
Are there any games here that you are considering like seriously speedrunning or putting more time into that you maybe didn't know that you would like so much?
No, I'm not usually a speedrunner anyway. I only join these marathons. Those are fun, but I haven't really grinded any of the games down to like an actual PB or anything.
Yeah.
Just join the marathons for fun, and apparently I can win some. Hey.
Yeah, it looks like Rave Tuba is going to be finishing in second. Rave Tuba is actually 9th in the world in any percent glitchless for SML2.
Yeah.
So should have no issue, finishing this thing off. Then we got a race for third. We got Garbanzo Guy, Reboot, and Sprinting Legs. Most depending on when,
Yeah. When he gets to Double Dragon.
Dr. Wily. Dr. Wily's been given Sprinting Legs quite a bit of trouble. And Reboot seems to be ton of the strats that you'd think would, come with maybe putting more time into it, so probably just taking it very safely.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes there. Really, the refights have been the story of this Tiny 10. The refights and Dr. Wily 1 and 2 have been the parts that have just caught people up for several game overs apiece. So, yeah, that definitely was a big part of your comeback, quote unquote. You said you struggled a bit with Wario Land 2. What happened there?
Like one of the levels, I just picked the wrong door, and was like, "Hey, I'm not supposed to be here. What's going on?" And it took me a while. And the end boss hit me a couple of times, so I had to redo that fight a couple of times. So yeah, lost some time on that.
So at that point, you weren't thinking, "I'm gonna win this thing."
I thought I'm out. That's never gonna happen. That's apparently Rave 2 probably practice a lot, but
Yeah.
yeah, not a Mega Man. Yeah.
Always a relief not seeing Atros on the roster. I guess. Although disappointing, I would have loved to see him.
Yeah.
Put up a 205 or whatever he would have put up. But,
Probably would have something like that. Yeah.
but you know.
He's like world record in probably 7 of the games of this list. Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Like
got,
usual.
he's got world record in only a couple of them. Adam's Family and again, I think are actually only
Spirit,
2.
for sure.
Oh, and Ninja Spirit, so 3.
Fortified, so yeah.
I definitely
did
used
he
some of
take
his
the
videos to
Fortified
train.
world record?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, look at him. Okay,
Yeah.
so 4 of them.
I used this
You
video
guys
to
should
train.
definitely check out. Was in GDQ recently within the past year, so definitely another game that you can check out. It's cool. Game Boy games don't get into GDQ quite as often, so something to go back and check. I'm pretty sure SML2 has been in a GDQ.
Yeah. I think it has, yeah.
I have not submitted Double Dragon. I'm probably the only one who would consider it. So
I think SML2 got into this next GDQ as well, didn't it?
oh, I think maybe.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of
Yeah.
Game Boy games, but I believe SML2 was one of them. There are no refights, Samantha. There are 4 additional fights. Basically, you've never faced those bosses before, so that's kind of 8 bosses with only having 4 stages before the Dr. Wily stage.
Yeah, the Mega Man Game Boys don't have the true refights like the NES versions do. They have the first 4 bosses, which is true to the games. Like Mega Man 1 will have bosses from the Mega Man 1, Mega Man 2 have bosses from Mega Man 2 NES. And then the quote-unquote refights are typically 4 bosses from the next Mega Man game in the NES series.
Yeah, no, like in Mega Man, the other Mega Man games on Game Boy, they do have their own levels, but in this one, they're just refights.
Yeah.
Just a heads up in general, after RaveTube finishes Super Mario Land 2, we will be cutting because there's like a Crystal Rando tournament going on. So
bingo.
Bingo, yeah. So we're gonna make room for that for sure. So if you want to continue to support the other people who are still running, make sure to either watch them through a multi-Twitch or Khadgar link. Because like there won't be any more commentating, but you can always watch the runners on their own channel for your support for sure.
Definitely give all of these runners a follow. They put, it's a lot of work to do this and a lot of time in their Saturday to do the run in general, but also all the practice and stuff. So, definitely give them support and hit them up.
Yeah, and make sure to also follow all of these commentators who have been around, because they always help out with the entire process of setting up these Tiny 10 races. And again, if you want more Game Boy stuff, make sure to visit the Game Boy community on Twitch, where we stream to, or the team/Monochrome City, which consists of Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advanced streamers. So. And don't forget to give shoutouts, of course, to Man Over Mars, who did all the artwork. And,
Absolutely.
Another huge shout out to Speed Gaming and Fiesel for always providing us with a platform to stream these things on. So thank you very much for that.
Fiesel's done so much for the community. He spends so much time investing in Speed Gaming outside of instead of investing in his own channel, and so I mean he's a huge blessing to this whole community. So huge shout outs to him for letting smaller events like us in. And he also has these huge rando tournaments and stuff that you guys love. So definitely follow Feasible and hug him if you see him at a GDQ.
Maybe even sub the Speed Gaming. It's also possible.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Emotes.
Yeah.
basically losing money if you didn't.
Exactly. Like you get fancy emails like this.
It's cool to see Rave Tuba just flying through SML2.
Yeah.
A game that obviously he has put a lot of time into to be top 10. And less than 30 seconds off world record. So
yeah, my timing wasn't even that good, like 40 minutes I checked. And world record's like 20 minutes?
Yeah, he's got a 26. I think the world record's 26:20. He's got like a 26:50.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, I did like 38 minutes. That's a bit slower.
Beat it faster than I ever did.
Oh well.
Yeah, Crunch Bag. Unfortunately, we there's another event scheduled, so we'd have to you'll have to support the runners on their individual streams.
And we would have to find at least 3 more commentators, because I think most of us are actually getting really tired.
Yeah, it's late where you're at, isn't it?
Yeah, it's past the 11 p.m. for me. But I just mean from commentating for 3 hours.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
It's definitely a tough thing to do. If people are interested for like commentating and such, you can always let me know, of course. So. But we definitely need more runners again next time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think we're always fine with the commentating, but the runners were a little bit poor this time around, sadly.
Yeah, generally we show the first couple, people finish, and then cut. We don't normally do the whole length of this for these kind of tournaments.
We can't really with Infinite Mystery in there.
Yeah.
It's still home.
Yeah, but you have people that go into these things blind, that it takes them, 15, 20 hours. Like,
yeah, so we can't. But only one person has finished so far, Guy McGuy. Rave Tuba is coming up on the end of SML2, and then the race for third is on between Sprinting Legs, Reboot, and Garbanzo Guy. It looks like it's going to be Garbanzo Guy, but just starting over Double Dragon again. So Garbanzo is the one who has, I guess, had issues with Double Dragon so far, probably gotten the furthest and had to restart multiple times. So still could be close, honestly, if Sprinting Legs are Reboot finish Dr. Wily's Revenge soon.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, that Cava Bobo has been giving Garbanzo some problems, and he's horrible.
Yeah, it's getting to the right of him is, I don't know if it is technically RNG or what, but I ran this game a lot and I never had like a consistent setup for it. If he kept wanting to punch me in midair, there's nothing I could do about it. So
sometimes he just does that, yeah, and then we get to it on the side, and you get a punch in, there's still enough platforms, and he just doesn't fall. It's scary.
Slight miscalculation, not so much, but a lot of the top tier runners, I would say, who are usually here did not show up for whatever reason. So I always try to come up with a list of games that are definitely doable with the least amount of practice, under 3 hours. This one was a little different though, because it was the Pro Edition, a lot of hard games, a lot of deaths and game overs that set you back a lot. But usually everything is definitely doable within 2 hours if you put in a lot of practice.
I'd say we had several other sub 3 hour runners that just didn't show up.
That didn't show up. Yeah. So it's sad, of course, but next time we'll do better, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think Captain Duck has something to do with it. slip a little something in their Cheerios, One thing that surprised me, Captain Duck, is that you did the manip for getting the star in this castle here, in Mario's castle.
Oh yeah.
So have you run that game before? Did you put a lot of time into it, or keeping the kill count at a certain level not as hard as I think it is?
It's not that hard. Just you just kill most things you see, and then you end up near the 99. And just make sure you don't hit that 100.
Now, if you die, does that affect it though? Did you not die the whole run?
Yeah, if you die, it affects it indeed. But I don't think... Did I die? I don't think I did. No, maybe I fell in a hole once or something. Not much though, but probably an auto-scroller. Oh yeah, I died in the bird level, in the tree. Fell into a hole. But not much enemies in that level, so it doesn't really change the enemy count.
Do not know where Garbanzo is right now.
The factory?
Oh, okay, there. Okay, I thought he went down somewhere I'd never seen before. Like, where is he wandering off to? He's already down 2 lives. That's not a good sign for.
That's definitely not good.
Honestly, he was down 2 lives at the first Abobo. We probably should have just reset.
Yeah.
But the Pro Edition is proven to be very strong.
Yeah, and I won it. Yay! Pretty happy with that. That was tough. That's Double Dragon, Penguin Wars. It's really tough.
Hey, you're not a big Penguin Wars fan.
No, not anymore. Those stun locks, man, it's horrible. Such pain. Like, they just combo and combo you down. It's not fair.
It looks like RaveTuber was done.
Yeah.
Well,
Congratulations to RaveTuber for coming in second.
Getting right under the sub 330, right after Captain Duck got right under 3 hours. So
yeah.
You won by almost 30
RaveTuber.
minutes. How does that feel?
Yeah, that's a big
really
lead.
good. Wow, yeah. I was not expecting that. Amazing.
Yeah, it was a very weird edition this time around. Like, I'm kind of surprised everything turned out the way it did, but yeah, strange things. Let's hope in the future we can like get that time down a little bit more again. So
yeah, when I said that, I thought Dr. Wily's Revenge would be the hardest game or the one people struggle with. I didn't think everybody would struggle as much as they have though. Still, like it's been real tough. I do think part of it is, people worry about games like Double Dragon and forget that's why these challenges are so hard. It's all about balance. You can be, you can be really, really good at one game, but if you have a couple weaknesses in games, it'll come back to bite you in these multi-game challenges. I've experienced that myself for sure. Being
That's
like,
why I love
I'm
these
good at
marathons.
game. I'm gonna focus on these other 2 games, and then that game comes and I choke.
Do that for the big 20. It's like, I played this game as a kid. I remember beating it. I played as an adult, and I just can't do it.
Sometimes it's not the games you expect. Like, I mean, I know like tennis for Big 20 was like a really tough one, or badminton, one of those 2.
I would love to have tennis in the Tiny 10.
Oh, badminton. That was
Tennis
a thing.
isn't bad. Yeah, the Game Boy tennis isn't bad.
Super badminton for the big 20 was something.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a thing. Oh. I had to train a lot for that. I was then that one, Big 20. It's the one I joined. The one with Ghouls and Ghosts and such.
Yeah.
God, that was horrible. It's pain.
That was a painful big 20.
Yeah.
So should we be handing this over? I don't want to be delaying the crystal bingo.
Yeah, let's wrap it up right here. Sadly, we only got to see 2 people finish this time around. Again, go support the other streamers. There's still 4 people in this race, so even watching it on a multi-Twitch thingy isn't that tough, so be sure to check that out. But yeah, thank you everybody for running, for commentating with me, also for helping organizing this game, and of course you viewers out there who have watched through this, and I hope you people enjoyed this, and I hope to see you again next year, hopefully for Tiny 7.
Absolutely.
I'll be there.
I'll be around.
We probably will, yeah.
Yeah. Beating all of them except the first one, so I'll try and join again.
And hopefully we'll have a lot more runners, so...
I have to take the gold from Duck now.
Are we offline now? Are we off the stream now, or?
Not sure, I'll ask Fiesel if we're still around to hear us ramble until we disappear all of a sudden, but... He's cutting now, so... I suppose we are offline.
Okay.
Whew! What a tiny town.
There's a lot of talking.